All right. We're going to call this meeting of the Board of Supervisors for September 11th to order. Can we do the roll call, please?
Yes. Supervisor Zaragoza?
Here.
Supervisor Long?
Here.
Supervisor Bennett?
Here.
Supervisor Parks? Here. Supervisor Foy?
Here. Do the Pledge of Allegiance. Lori, will you lead us, please?
Yes. Please begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Lori. All right. So we have the minutes of the 31st and the 7th. We have a motion.
Second.
Second. Okay, this one's for. That's for 10 o'clock. Okay. This one's for. All right. So we have agenda review. Mr. Powers.
Thank you, Chair Foy. Item 29, Public Works. Adoption of a resolution finding that property owned by the Ventura County Watershed Protection District located in the city of Fillmore is no longer necessary to be retained. Just clarifying this is a watershed protection district item. Item 48, Public Works. Adoption of a resolution expanding the existing no overnight parking zone on Santa Ana Road. Agenda page 10 was revised to add the word no to overnight parking zone. Item 50, Board of Supervisors. Recommendation of Supervisor Foy to appoint Ronald Camarada to the El Rancho CME Cemetery District Board of Trustees. A comment letter from Teresa Jordan has been submitted. Finally, item 52, CEO's Office approval of responses to the 2017-18 Ventura County Grand Jury reports. A comment letter from Teresa Jordan has been submitted. And that's it. Thank you.
Any other comments, things on the agenda? Everybody good with that? All right. Do we have a motion to accept the agenda as revised? Great. All right. Let's do our moment of inspiration. Jennifer Parkinson here? Oh, there she is. Okay, great. Jennifer's president of the Neuroboxing and Neuro Community. It's all yours. Thank you.
Okay. Hi, I'm Jennifer Parkinson, and like you said, I'm the co-founder of Neuroboxing. I'm also the new president of Neuro Community, which has been in our area for about 15 years. I want to tell you a little bit about why I started Neuroboxing. When I was 32 years old, which was 13 years ago, I started having a tremor in my right hand. My son was 6 weeks old, and my daughter was 3. I was a registered nurse, and I was having trouble walking. I was having trouble writing my own name. My patients were asking me if it was my first day. And it took 2 years of seeing specialists and trying to figure out what was going on with me. I finally saw a neurologist. I walked into the room, shook his hand, sat down, and he said, "You look like you have Parkinson's disease." I was diagnosed in Kentucky in my hometown, and I was only the third person they had ever seen this young. I was told I would be in a wheelchair within 10 years. I was going to be unable to take care of myself or my children. And I was given a pill that I was going to be taking for the rest of my life and told this was my fate. And there was nothing I could do. I'm pretty stubborn and hard-headed, luckily. And I said, there's no way you can know this. There's got to be something I can do. I tried to continue working. That failed miserably. I had to go on disability. And then a few years later, I became a single mom. I went through a divorce. My kids were almost 5 and 8, and my symptoms were getting worse. So I found out about a program across the country in Indiana that was helping people with Parkinson's through boxing therapy. We using non-contact boxing techniques, functional training, people with Parkinson's were able to start moving better again and start turning the symptoms around. So I started working out with a trainer locally, 8-time world kickboxing champion, and basically was in the fight of my life. I worked really hard. I was being put through some very intense, vigorous workouts. As my body started to respond, I was finally able to start turning my symptoms around. My tremor, which was nonstop, all the time, consistent, started to get better. I started to work through the freezing episodes, the rigidity, and they became less and less. Finally, about a year after my training, my trainer came to me, he said, you know, no one would ever know. He said, you look like everybody else in this class. And I was working out with fighters, guys that were getting in the ring that weekend to fight. I realized that what I had gone through, what had completely changed my story. It completely changed my life. And that's when I decided to start neuroboxing. We just opened our 5th location in Santa Paula yesterday. We are now starting to expand our programs to out of state as well. And we really hope that we'll be able to give more and more people in our area a support and a therapy that can help fight back against this disease. Thank you.
Go ahead. Say something, Steve?
I just, well,
Okay,
sorry.
go ahead.
I just wanted to say thank you very much. It's a powerful statement that you stated and how you do the research and just really fighting. My uncle, we got a boxing bag and gloves for him as well, and it's really helped so much. But you're helping so many, and I just appreciate it because it is a team to get this through and to help us every day. So thank you.
Steve, you say something?
I want you to take this comment in context. I grew up in Indiana, and we have great rivalry with the state of Kentucky. We play all-star basketball games, everything else, and that's exactly what we say about Kentucky people. They are very hard-headed and stubborn, and I'm glad you were very stubborn and really went after that. What a great inspirational story. Thank you.
Yeah.
And also just you see how one life can make such a big difference. So not only your life, but that you're helping others. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you for coming, being part of this, but what changing everybody's lives. It's just, that's exciting to see there's other solutions out there. So thank you very much.
Mr. Chair,
Yeah.
thank you for sharing. I think it's important for all of us to hear what you had to say today. Today, about 10 o'clock, I'm going to have a young lady come over. We're going to honor her regarding sports and boxing and so forth, and commend women for the work that you do. Thank you so much.
Good, thanks. Okay, wonderful. So we got a great start to our day. All right, we have a consent items, 11 through 41. Anybody have any comments on these or any? Yes, I'm sure you do, Ms. Long.
Thank you. Well, I would be remiss to
I'm sure you
speak in regards to, I had it right here, 24. I just wanted to make sure for the city of Piru, it's extremely important that we get our health care to our community. Unfortunately, we will be closing the center down that's there. However, I wanted to make sure that people know that there are free rides and vouchers to the Fillmore location. It was due to the amount of people that were actually going to the clinic. We are working with the PNC, Piru Neighborhood Council, to ensure that all those that were using the clinic know exactly how to get there so that we can make sure that they're still receiving the services. And for more information, we have our department head that can answer it. But I didn't want this to be just moved in consent. It's a very serious item for us in our community, and we want to make sure that everyone understands where the services are and how they can get there. So thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments and on the consent? We have a motion? We have a motion by Supervisor Bennett, second by Zaragoza. I'll vote. All right. We'll go to public comments. Do we have any public comments? Yes, we do. Mr. Perrello, Councilman. Where is he? Oh, there he is. We have 3 minutes.
Good morning, Chairman Foy. Those are tremendous inspirational comments from the young lady. I'd like to get her contact information before the morning is over. My name is Bert Perrello. I'm an Oxnard City Councilman. I'd like to read a letter. Earlier this year, NRG shut down a high flow rate and volume circulation pumps at the Mandalay Beach Power Generating Station that handled once-through cooling water drawn from the Channel Islands Harbor waterway via the Edison Canal to ultimately discharge into the Pacific Ocean. During a particularly long period of hot weather beginning in mid-June, the lack of sufficient water circulation flow rates and volume in the Edison Canal and Channel Islands Harbor waterways appears to have been a significant factor, resulting in an unprecedented algae bloom occurring in the harbor waterways. Channel Islands Harbor waterway residents and homeowners who are both city and county harbor constituents and taxpayers became greatly alarmed. Many contacted the city of Oxnard reporting unusual algae, murky water, and clear visibility depths diminishing to 3 feet or less, opposed to the typical conditions of being able to see to the bottom of the channel of over 10 feet deep. Within 24 hours of these reports, City of Oxnard Public Works Department deployed and swung into action. Water samples were collected at 5 locations in the harbor waterways and Edison Canal. The city established a telephone hotline to report any odor or discoloration of the water. And early in August, the city installed aerators and strategically at certain back basin areas in the waterways to help bring the oxygen levels and localized improvements in circulation. These triage measures have certainly helped, but if the underlying problems persist and are not tackled effectively and quickly, it is only a matter of time before the Edison Canal and the Channel Islands Harbor waterways experience large algae blooms that may very well rival or exceed the large fish kill counts in tonnages. For example, 175 tons experienced in Redondo Beach in 2005 and 2011, and most recently in the Malibu Lagoon in 2018. As elected members of the Board of Supervisors and the Oxnard City Council, it is absolutely vital that as public officials we work effectively together and join forces to combat these unprecedented threats in water quality degradation and the peaceful enjoyment of this valuable public harbor waterways. This Thursday, September 13th, beginning at 9 a.m. in this very room, the Los Angeles Regional Water Quality Board will hold a public hearing on the tentative termination order that is adopted as written. It will be a lost opportunity for keeping NRG engaged in helping the city, county, and state resolve this problem. I ask members of our board to participate in Thursday's hearing and join Supervisors John Zaragoza and me, along with scores of Channel Islands Harbor residents, homeowners, in urging the LA Regional Water Quality Control Board to reconsider the ill-advised waste discharge requirement termination order. Finally, I respectfully ask the Board of Supervisors to join Supervisor Zaragoza and me in joint efforts to help create a city, county, state red team task force to credibly complement and competently experienced subject matter experts who will help us convene and design a collaborative improvement to Channel Islands Harbor waterways, water quality restoration and action plan as quickly as possible. I want to thank you, Supervisor John Zaragoza, for your collaboration, partnership, and as a member of the Board of Supervisors, I ask you all for your support to help preserve, enhance, and restore the quality of water in the Channel Islands Harbor. Respectfully, Bert Perrello, Oxnard City Council member, and a member of the Oxnard Channel Islands Harbor Task Force. Thank you very much.
Mr. Chair, I want to thank you, Bert, for coming in, Council Member. One of the things I'd like to share with the board that Mark Sandoval, our harbor director, is working with Mike Powers and also the city manager of the city of Oxnard, and you and I form a partnership. I think it's extremely important that we help the individuals out there with the brown water. To me, it's a health and safety issue, and I think it's important that we work together as a team. And then, by the way, don't leave yet, because at board comments, our CEO is going to share some information that might help the city and the county work together. Thank you for sharing.
Thank you all.
Thank you, Bert. Laurel, Laurel Dowse? Yes. Thank you.
Good morning, Chair Foy, supervisors, and county employees. My name is Laurel Dawes, and I serve as principal of Cabrillo Middle School in Ventura. The reason I'm here today is to let you know of our elections division and how they've been a little less than responsive to issues of school safety at our middle school. I'm somebody who has voted in every election since I was 18. I have worked hard to promote civic engagement through running voter registration drives and supporting various campaigns. I believe strongly that everyone should exercise their right to vote. However, in February of this year, I became aware of a situation, so I want to give you a little background. We had a facilities request submitted to ask that our school cafeteria be used as a polling place, and I declined because I said it wasn't safe. It was in the middle of where 900 students eat and socialize every day. Then I was made aware of Elections Code 12283, Article 5, which states that basically a school must say yes when asked by the polling place to become when asked by the Elections Division to become a polling place. I took the initiative to find an alternate site, and I asked my closest neighbors who are right across the parking lot at First United Methodist Church. They were happy to accept the request. I checked back a couple weeks later with both the Elections Division and the polling place at the First United Methodist Church, and both said yes, it was good to go. So I didn't receive any further communication. Then on May 22nd, two things happened. One is I opened the newspaper and saw that more people had died in school shootings this year than in the military. It was a shocking number. It was appalling, but actually not surprising because I spend every day of my working life working to keep our schools safe. And so it is effectively the water that I swim in. But the other thing that happened that day was that I received a letter from the Elections Division notifying us that we would be a polling place. It was a bit of a shock, but I had no choice but to prepare and get my school community, my families, my students, and staff all ready. Fortunately, June 5th came and went without any serious issues, but I was surprised because First United Methodist was also used as a polling place, less than 100 yards away. I set up a meeting with the Elections Division, which, by the way, took several weeks to set up, and met with them on July 24th, asking why this was the case. They didn't have an answer, but promised to get back to me soon. On August 24th, a month later, they did come and meet with me. They still didn't have the answer to that question, nor did they have another map. They had told me that the map that I showed with them on the meeting in July was incorrect, but they didn't have a second map for me. They provided another map that was correct, supposedly, last week on Thursday. This was the first map. Here is the second map showing that Cabrillo's not even in the precinct. And then I questioned if that was correct, and they shared with me a third map that was still different yet. And so I've been having a very hard time getting clear communication and accurate communication from them. And I feel like I've been very open, communicative, proactive, and working hard to keep my school campus safe. I would like to request that the county instate a norm in the Elections Division of returning calls in less than a week, of giving accurate information, and of working with school leaders to find safe sites to use as polling places. Thank you so very much.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Not a lot of comment. You can go right downstairs and see the people if you need to, so.
I'm happy.
And your location again is where?
Cabrillo Middle School.
Right.
Okay, great. Cabrillo Middle School here in Ventura.
Yes.
Great. Thank you very much.
Thank you,
We
Mr.
have your card since you're in my district. I will get in touch with you.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Could you hand me her card, please?
Okay, Monica Gray. I don't know which one it is there.
Good morning, everyone. Happy September. I don't know if you're all aware, but it's Pediatric Cancer Awareness Month, and today I'm wearing a shirt that was sent to me by a bright and beautiful little 9-year-old boy. His name is Landon Riddle. He's a cancer survivor. He has spent the last 6 years bucking conventional treatment and using cannabis oil to treat a cancer that they told his mom he had an 8 to 10% of, basically a chance of survival. And right now, he's got a nice curly head of hair and a happy smile. He started, his brand new school year, and I just wanted to request that if you guys, as a collective body ever have the chance to support more funding for research? I know there's a couple of bills, working up at a much higher level right now. If you guys would share support for those, then we might be able to break the barriers between conventional and unconventional treatment. And you might have more success and survival stories for kids like Landon. One other thing that I wanted to request is with the recent court decision saying that Roundup is pretty bad and awful and causes cancer and all those bad things, if you guys have any say over that and you could get them to stop spraying that in public areas, that would be pretty cool too. Our rate of diagnosis for pediatric cancer is very, very high, and that sucks. I know all the hospital administrators at VCMC are, working hard to comfort and, care for kids dealing with it, but I would really like to see us take action to try to stop it before it happens. So that's it. I'm going to head off to school now, and thank you guys very much. I wanted to say thank you in particular to Steve Bennett's office. Sometimes when I request help, it's through very public channels. Sometimes just a simple phone call will do, and I do appreciate Mr. Bennett's staff helping me out with a recent issue, so that was very nice. I appreciate that. Also, Barry Zimmerman at the Human Services Agency just helped me extend my time in school just a little bit farther because I'm like 2 classes away from getting another degree and so close, almost there. So thanks for your help. Have a nice day.
Great, you too. Thank you. Joe Kyle?
Hello, County Supervisors, County staff. First, I'd just like to state that it was November 7th that this County Supervisors passed a motion to give themselves 120 days to get a report back from county staff after the regulations were passed for cannabis about what was happening. So that was November 7th, let's say January 1st, so it's been almost 10 months now. And no report has been given. It's been pushed back and pushed back. Oxnard, Thousand Oaks, Port Hueneme, and Santa Paula all have had this conversation. Oxnard and Santa Paula have decided to put a tax on the ballot and see what happens. When you guys were talking about it, you were talking about 2 dispensaries, 2 manufacturers, 2 distributors, and 3 small-scale cultivators. Yet, once again, no conversation has been had about even the report of how it is going in other cities and counties, even cities within this own community. Sadly, we will have to take a more open ordinance and allow for more drafted by us and voted on by the people. If this county supervisors do not move forward, we will be forced to do that. We know we have the support. And secondly, I'd like to approve of what Monica was saying and put a second voice in that. The city of LA has banned all glyphosate use on public areas. Most recently, I can send to county staff that they have actually brought it up to the appellate court level that glyphosate must be, Roundup specifically, must be labeled in California as cancer causing. That is why you have so many different people going around and suing them. It was patented in 1995 as an antibiotic, which we know if something is patented as an antibiotic, it's not really okay for the human body. So thank you, and I will send that information to county staff. Have a good day.
Thank you very much. And then Monica White. Oh, you brought your whole crew. Love it.
I did. I did. Good morning. Good morning, Supervisors, Mr. Powers. My name is Monica White. I am the proud president and CEO of Food Share. I stand here today with a small but mighty representation of the powerful network that drives your Ventura County Food Bank. Starting with our 12 board of directors, our staff of 28 employees, 190 pantry agencies, and nearly 1,500 annual volunteers, and I can't forget my small but mighty also transition team that helped us in the last year. Each and every one of these people are our partners, and together we serve 75,000 people nearly every month. This year, Food Share celebrates our 40th anniversary. What started out as a group of 8 generous Venturans collecting food in a garage to feed to some homeless people in Ventura has grown into a $22 million organization that provides a vital community necessity, food. And last year, we distributed nearly 12 million pounds of food just in Ventura County. It's been little over a year since I officially joined Food Share, and I am sincerely proud of where we are today. As many of you know, Food Share had reached a point where reorganization, refocus, and rebuild was an absolute necessity. And we did it. We survived, and we distributed the record amount of food, the most food distributed in our 40-year history. Today, Food Share remains as strong and passionate about our mission as ever, and we wanted to thank the community for supporting us in our time of need, just as we support our hungry neighbors during their time of need. But I still need your help. I will always need your help. We come bearing gifts of no value whatsoever. They are orange bands to celebrate Hunger Action Month, where they say, because no one should go hungry. We're giving one to each of you. We hope that you will wear it and that you will proudly take a picture with it and post it on social media to share your support of encouraging awareness of the 1 in 6 people in Ventura County who go hungry every single day. The need continues. It will always continue, but with your support, Food Share will be here to help our hungry neighbors, hopefully for the next 40 years. So thank you.
Monica, I have a little resolution that I'd like to read, commending Food Share for September 2018 is Hunger Action Month. And I'm going to read this, and then we will get the resolution later. Whereas established in 1978, Food Share is celebrating its 40th anniversary, as you mentioned, serving insecure residents of Ventura County. This early anti-hunger movement started in Ventura garages, for that matter, and quickly grew into a donating of food in fire stations in Saticoy, and then now operates in Oxnard with 2 warehouses with a combined 36,000 square foot areas. Today, staff and volunteers distributed, as you mentioned, 12 million pounds of food to 10 million meals annually through its 190 pantry partners and more than 300 monthly volunteers. Whereas hunger and poverty are issues of critical concern nationally and locally, in Ventura County, 1 in 6 county residents is food insecure. That's monumental, which means that they're struggling to avoid hunger. And whereas Food Share, Ventura County's food bank provides food for 75,000 hungry friends and neighbors monthly. Food Share is a member of Feeding America, the nation's largest hunger relief organization, as well as the Southern California Association of Food Banks. And I want to thank all of you for helping out. This is really fantastic what you do. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Do we? And I have the resolution. Take a photo with you.
Yes, please. Doesn't happen unless there's a picture.
Who's the boss here? We know.
I just also want to congratulate Monica and Food Share. I know you did a lot of work and turned the organization into a really positive funding source, so getting funds for it, and then also being able to, at the same time, make records in the amount of distribution is just remarkable. So congratulations.
Yes, yeah. Congratulations. Thank you. And thank you also for what you do, because you know what? The people you serve really can't do anything else for you, but you just continue to do for them. So it's just a wonderful what you guys do. So thank you very much. Okay. That's all of our speakers, and nobody else, right? Okay, great. Then we're going to go to board comments. What I'd like to do, though, before we go through all the board comments, because we're going to do adjourn in memory, and very important with Judy Michaels. And I think that's really special since everybody knew her, and we have Kathy here, who old supervisors just fade away. You've been here, and I really appreciate you coming. I know how important she was to you. So I think we want to start out. And Kathy, why don't you start? You know, you just start. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and board members. I asked if I could have a moment. No, okay.
Don't time her.
Well, I had the honor of working with Judy Michaels. And as you know, she was a Simi Valley councilwoman. She came up from planning commissioner to councilwoman, a small business owner of a wonderful framing studio. She served on this board for 12 years. I, of course, started in '97, so I served with her the latter part of that, but enough years to really get to know and love Judy Michaels. Very much a compassionate conservative. We didn't always agree, but when we disagreed, we were very civil, and we'd go out and have a shot of scotch or something like that. She was a proud woman, proud of her county service, proud of her community of Simi Valley. First of all, a patriot. Her husband flew in the U.S. Air Force. Michael Michaels, known as Mikey, and her family, they were patriotic and very much a country-loving family. She was then a mother, and as I said, very much a straight talker. She did her homework, but you never really questioned where Judy was because she was pretty direct about where she was, and at times maybe a little bit stubborn, but it did so with very caring heart. I learned much from her when I joined the board because I too joined the county hospital board of trustees. Judy was chair. So for that period of time, I was able to serve with her. I learned so much about our healthcare system and grew to love it as much as she did. She was very passionate about the healthcare system, passionate about behavioral health, very much a champion for both of those. She and I worked together on the securing the grant dollars for the Juvenile Justice Center, very much, again, aware of those who have the most need. That's who we should be working for, and she believed it in her heart of hearts. Was very much, again, a woman who loved family, loved her country, loved her community, and loved the county of Ventura. It really was my honor to serve with her. So I wanted to say that today. Her family is private. They held private ceremony in where they live in Arizona. Her sons live here, and Brett Michaels and I have stayed in communications, as did Judy and I, mostly on Facebook, as you do. She and Mike visited my home a couple times over the years. But that's Judy Michaels, and that's the Judy I grew to know and love, and I just wanted to say those words on her behalf. And I want to mention to you an opportunity to honor Judy, I think a very appropriate one, and I did that today, and that is to buy a brick for our Healing Garden Path as part of our VCMC campus. And as Judy was that person who championed healthcare and loved that hospital, as you know, she had a nursing background, and she put that to use many times in understanding what the needs were in the hospital. So buy a brick, and I would ask the county employees who may be listening, if you've worked with Judy, if you were called to her office and she looked you in the eye, she said, "Now what are you doing here?" and then she'd listen, and then she'd work on whatever she could to help the county move forward, be a stronger county and a better county and a compassionate and caring county. Honor her, buy a brick, celebrate her life with all of us, and remember her. And may she rest in peace. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Kathy. And I remember when I was elected but hadn't taken office, and I'd sit back there with Brian sitting in that corner and just watch this Board of Supervisors, and I could tell you had that relationship.
Yeah.
You know, like I said, you didn't always agree, but you had that close relationship. It was kind of special. Yeah, and I thank you for coming out, and
Well-
we don't want to forget people who make such an impact,
Yeah.
you know, and I know the rest of them want to talk. And I'll just say myself, you know, we went through a fight for elections and everything else, but she was so gracious to me after. Come into her office, say, come on in, let me explain to this stuff. There's going to be so much that you're going to have to deal with, and the fire hose is really big when you're sucking this down. So, but she was always kind and gracious, and matter of fact, we kept some of her staff, as you remember Carol and some of those, and she was just a kind woman. And I remember even coming after when she had done some things, we asked her to open some of the stuff that she had done, and she was just, I just, was gracious, but she was so well loved in our district and just a part of the community.
Very much.
So it was, and so, yeah, she was a special lady. So thank you very much for
Thank
coming
you.
out here. I know some of these other
If you're a
supervisors. who-
Scotch drinker,
Yeah.
two-finger old Scotch.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Kathy mentioned that Judy loved Ventura County, and I just want to say one thing, and that is Judy loved Ventura County and Ventura County government and the mission enough that she was willing to vote to put her own reelection at risk to do what she thought was best for Ventura County, and that's what I really admire. There were just a number of times over the years where she knew this was going to cost her politically, and she did it, and you really have to admire somebody that's willing to do that. So thank you. Thanks for coming today, Kathy, to remind us of this.
I also just thank you, and it's really appropriate how we can recognize her, and I will do that. And thank you for coming forward and speaking. And she really was a compassionate conservative, and that not a lot of those people are out there anymore. But that she was there for us on the social issues and healthcare. And that was remarkable. So she took a lot of pride in her service to the county and also represented us regionally, statewide, nationally also, and always with a tremendous pride for our county, and did everything that she could do that she felt was important for our county. So she will be very much missed.
Yeah.
Mr. Chair, Kathy, it's great to see you, and thank you for sharing. I didn't know Judy. I've read about her in the paper and so forth, but I didn't get to know her. But reading the paper, some of the things that she did, she was very passionate, as you said, on what she believed in and represented Simi Valley and that whole area very diligently. Thank you for sharing. And Kathy, you look great. Thank you for being here today.
I also just wanted to say thank you for taking this time to remember her. The dedication, the time away from her family, the contribution she did for the community is just amazing. I thank all board members. And Kathy, you continue on, which is so impressive. But just the legacy that she leaves behind and the memories. So it is an honor to be sharing this with you.
Mr. Powers, you spent a lot of time with her.
I did. I thank you, Supervisor Foy. I had the privilege, excuse me, of serving with the HCA team when Judy and Kathy were there as the dynamic duo of our hospital oversight committee. And as Kathy said, she was a fierce and passionate advocate for the underserved. She so believed it. It was just in her DNA. And for mental health services, she really, that was a hugely important to her. To make sure we destigmatized that and expanded services. And there were a lot of challenges back in the day. And we talked earlier about the difference one life can make. Well, Supervisor Michaels made a huge difference in our healthcare system. It was facing many, many challenges at the time. And you really see what leadership means when times are tough. And she was right there, just unwavering. You always knew where Judy was, and she was going to be there because it was in her heart and in her head. And so we were just... the healthcare system, the wonderful system we have here today, is a big tribute to her service and her legacy. And it also brought her joy. I mean, when I'm thinking about Judy up here today, I really miss her, but I just see that big smile on her face and how much joy she took at every time she talked. She just light up every time she talked about the healthcare system. So just so appreciate and just privileged to know her and thank her for all she did for our county. Thank you.
Yeah. So when you think about some of those things, Kathy sat on your oversight for so long too, and you don't realize how you're gone, but you still affect people for generations to come because of what you did, even during the tough times. Because a lot of times people would come in and say, "Do we need this? Do we not need this?" But you got to make it work because there's a future ahead. And so, thank you for what you did. Thank you for what she's done. Yeah. So thank you. Aisha, what's always great about being a supervisor like Kathy or anybody else, no matter what they pass on, that picture's still going to be up there, and there's memories of people when they come back over years to say that there were people who made a difference in the lives of the millions of people that will go through this county over the generations to come. So, thank you. That's right. Yeah. Yes. You guys are good. You guys are good. That's very good. I love it. So thank you very much. So, good. We'll move on to our regular board comments. John, you want to go?
You got my brick application.
Thank you, Kathy. Let me start off by saying it's glad to be back from vacation. In fact, it took probably the longest vacation I've taken in a while, 2.5 weeks. And as soon as I got back, my staff had a whole mess of work for me. So what I like to do today is have a little PowerPoint I'd like to share, because a couple of things that I did over the weekend when I got back, and like they say, a picture's worth a million words. So I'm going to start off with that. However, before I do that, I'd like to take a moment, Mr. Chair, to remember the 2,996 people that died on 9/11, and almost 6,000 of the people that were injured during the worst terror attack that we had in our nation. So I just I'd like to share that we should remember today's date, and it's really important that we not forget. So consequently, then, as I mentioned before, I came in and my staff started giving me all kinds of work. And first of all, I'd like to share that that I attended the Colonial Walk. This is the 10th annual Colonial Walk. It's a 5K walk. And Johnson Gill was there with me, the Healthcare Agency Director, Rico Vargas, Director of Public Works. His team put together a wonderful event for the community in Colonia. And I'd just like to share with you that there was hundreds of people that were there in the morning, including children that participated. We had Sylvia and Salfa, and we had the Oxnard Police Department. We had the Oxnard Housing Residency program was there. The Ventura County agencies, all our people were there, supporting the folks there at the healthcare agency. And we talked about how important, it is to have a proper diet. And then additionally, then I went over to, the same day I went over to the El Rio Center, the Roger Jones Center, and Ventura County Sheriff had an At Your Service event, and showed that they were given cards with their photos, their names, and personal descriptions. They also put on a shredding machine to get rid of public information that they didn't want to be divulged. We had people that had tickets that needed to be signed off by the police. They were there to correctable traffic citations. They had boxes for expired medications and prescriptions, that are so important to get rid of. And lastly, they had music and they had food, and for those who attended. So I just wanted to thank Captain Todd Inglis and also Commander Barrios that did an excellent job, Detective Eric Ortega, and the whole West County Patrol for putting this together, and also Amanda Zaragoza. One of the things that they also had was Gruff, I think, Lourdes was the name of the dog. It says, take a bite out of crime. One of the things that many police officers do, they have events where they go out and they have a donut and coffee with a police officer. One of the things that Commander Barrios did was, how about having menudo with a cup? So they had cups of menudo, and believe it or not, they had a lot of people show up, people sharing with the police officers their needs and so forth. So that was really, really great. So I just want to commend the Sheriff's Office and Commander Barrios for doing a good job for that. And then I went over to the Nyland Center. The Nyland Center, as you know, we make that a community center for our residents over at Nyland Acres. So we had the Ventura County Citizens for Emergency Independence and Careers Energy host a school supply giveaway. Of course, this is the start of summer, so they gave away 200 backpacks to the children there. Among other supplies, they had supplies for the school, they had pencils and so forth. They also raffled out Razor scooters for the Boys and Girls Club, and they gave 2 50-inch TVs for the kids there. It's just really, really fantastic. So I want to thank Trevor Zerhut for bringing this great event to the county and to the community center there at the Nyland Center. And of course, they also talked about STEAM, this STEAM, and other gifts that they were given to the children. And not only that, they had a barbecue. With total individuals there, we had 300 people that enjoyed tri-tip and chicken and bread and sodas and, well, maybe sodas, water for the kids. But it was just an outstanding event. So I just want to thank Mike Barber and Santa to the Sea and all those folks that put that together. And then, so Lourdes says I wasn't finished yet. What else did I have, Lourdes? What's my next one? And then Sunday I went over to the Channel Islands Harbor Electric Car Show. And we have numerous cars there and the goal of the show was to educate the general public about the benefits of electrical vehicles, the use and adoption of such lowering cars to reduce air pollution and also to reduce the reliance on fossil fuels. There's many volunteers with electrical vehicles there, and owners are displaying their cars and answering questions about their use and adoption. We have one thing that I'd like to share, Lourdes. We had a dancing car, believe it or not, electrical car. Can we play it? Let me see if, and then I'll be done with that. But this is some of the things that I'm kind of narrating that. But you can see this electrical car, it's almost like a Batmobile. This is all computerized. Oh my God. Those cars are phenomenal. I rode in one of them, and it was 0 to 70 and nothing flat. Just unbelievable. So that car actually talks to you. Controls this. Yeah. But it was just fascinating. It's just James Reach put it together. He did a really good job. I just want to share this with you and see how fascinating things have come about. That thing almost flew. So again, thank you. I just wanted to share that like I said, pictures are worth a million words, and that was my weekend when I got back. After my staff says you've been away for 2.5 weeks, we've got to put you to work. So, but I want to thank you for allowing me to share that, and I would like to adjourn in memory of the folks on this list. Thank you.
Thank you, Supervisor Zaragoza and Supervisor Foy. I really do appreciate your comments on 9/11. I, too, had that in my notes to talk about. I really appreciate all of our community that went to celebrate this day at our schools. We have the Ride to the Flags from Navy Base Ventura County to Pepperdine University. That starts at 11, and we've also had all the firefighter ceremonies at many of the different stations. And I really appreciate the flags that are out today in the discussions that are had. Many of our kids don't remember what 9/11 even really is about and the safety of our community and our country. So I appreciate those times and the topics and making sure we discuss this. It's worse to not talk about it, and it's better to be aware so you can prevent. Also, I'd like to celebrate Santa Paula Airport Star Editorial. We have one of our writers here today. The airport earned the 2018 Outstanding Airport Award from the Federal Aviation Administration, Western Pacific Region, for the key role it played in the firefighting last year at the Thomas Fire. They voluntarily suspended operations for weeks to accommodate firefighters, aircrafts, and other support equipment battling the wildfire, foregoing revenue for fuel sales and hangar rentals. The Air and Space Smithsonian magazine in 2004 called it one of the most enduring and colorful of America's old-time, small-time airfields. And I've heard that personally from air pilots that have come in from Colorado for our wings over Camarillo, and they were so excited to fly into Camarillo and then buzz over to Santa Paula and enjoy the lemon and avocado acres. Just a fabulous time, and I just want to say thank you so much to all those for when we are in a disaster that they step up and assist us, even when we don't know we need assisting. Sometimes we just do what's natural and step up. So thank you. I also went to the California State Association of Counties. We had our board of directors meeting. We talked about the latest adventures going on in the Senate and Assembly, and then now going to the governor. I'm not going to speak too much on it because I know our executive director, Graham Knaus, will be here today to talk about our CSAC and what's going on with the state. So I have to tell you that because I got a form to fill in. And then we also had the American Cancer Society Gala, where our past supervisor, Kathy Long, who was here a second ago, was a key role in this group. And we have the fortune of Dr. Sean Steen, who's the director of the surgical oncology, that received the award. One of the best parts of that night was seeing his kids pointing to him saying, yeah, that's my dad. This is so cool to witness. And just the efforts, and he reminds us that the efforts of defeating cancer isn't just one person. It's the whole process in the community that supports you. And as we talk about many different events, it's the same thing. And Chief Ken Kearney from the Ventura Police was there as our MC, and it was very, very well done. And we also had our Sheriff Jeff Dean, that was the dedicated partners in the fight against cancer. And then also we received an award for Ventura County along with our first responders for our efforts in fighting cancer, providing rides, and more. So that will be coming to you, the little gift they gave us. And the last thing I'd like to state is the Channel Island Harbor meeting that was there. We had staff from the CEO's office, Supervisor Zaragozas, and myself to really understand the issues going on with the harbor. Councilmember Peretti, I really appreciate you speaking about that. We do have our Los Angeles Water Quality Board that will be here on Thursday, and we hope that things will be mitigated to the best of the harbor, because we know that the safety is the biggest issue for us. And then college rides. If anyone takes our buses, Ventura County has a transportation system for our college students to get free rides to school and anywhere else if you show your school ID. This information has been pushed out from Ventura County, from all of our bus systems, and it's extremely important. We've got a great following so far. My understanding, there was at our last VCTC meeting, which is a Transportation Commission, if anyone knows that acronym, and over 10,000 people have rode for free. And it's so important that we get our community educated so they can do the work that they want to do. And so I just really appreciate if you know anyone that's looking for a ride, please tell them about this program so that they can find out more and receive this service. And I want to say thank you to the colleges for also supporting this program and those schools. So thank you, and I adjourn on this list.
Supervisor, can I mention something too? Those 10,000 individuals that rode free were from Gold Coast Transit out of Oxnard, just for information. Thank you.
Thank you. I'd like to ask the board to adjourn in memory of the people on this list. And there's just one thing I'd like to call out, something that concerns me a great deal. Current administration is seeking to open up 28,000 acres of federal land and mineral estates in Ventura County to oil drilling and fracking. That by itself wouldn't be concerning except for the method that they followed. There's only a 30-day comment period. There was only a 30-day comment period. It ended September 7th. It went out August 7th. The property owners were not notified directly about this, and I think many property owners had no idea that there was a 30-day comment period about this. And why is it concerning? Because these properties, many of them are split properties, and that is you may own the surface land, but you don't own the mineral rights below that. And when the study is finished, under the federal law, when the study is finished, the BLM can, for as little as $2 per acre, lease out those mineral rights, and then the people that have the mineral rights would then have the right to be able to go in and build and construct roads and put in oil derricks and all of that, even though the surface landowner may object. And we're talking about some really pristine properties in Ventura County, Ojai Valley Land Conservancy property, property at Thatcher School, property in the Hopper Mountain National Wildlife Refuge, property in the Santa Monica Mountains National Recreation Area. To have this get out and move this fast without these property owners being aware of it is something that I think many of us in Ventura County ought to be very concerned about. I submitted comment letters before the comment period closed September 7th, but I don't think the public has been fully informed about this. So that's the one thing I'd like to call to everybody's attention. I think that is a very inappropriate way for us to go about exploring where we should and shouldn't drill in Ventura County. Thank you very much.
Hi, good morning. Nice to be back. It was nice to have a break. It was refreshing and ready to go again. I also thank you, Supervisor Zaragoza, for mentioning 9/11 and hearing on the news this morning. It just reminds me where we all were, and I think everyone knows when we first heard it and how traumatic that was for our nation. So thank you for that. I just want to mention a couple of things. The Clean Power Alliance is moving well, and one of the issues that they are dealing with is a request to look at the exit fee, right? How much will be charged by those who move from Edison to the Clean Power Alliance, as well as throughout the state from PG&E and the other sources. And currently there is a proposal that would work well with our county, and there's also an alternative suggestion that would increase that price. So that's something that we'll be looking at. Also, the governor did sign a bill that pushes California to go to no fossil fuels by 2045. I would point out that other cities in the state and elsewhere have already put forward stronger fossil fuel times when they'll have all clean power. The city of San Francisco, city of Oakland, they're looking at 2025 kind of dates. So it's 2022, in San Jose, and in San Francisco 2030. So while the state is looking at 2045, we are seeing different jurisdictions step up to become completely fossil fuel free in their power sources. And I don't think there's anything that we can do that's more effective than having our energy source that comes to our homes and businesses be 100% clean energy, something that we'll have the option with the Clean Power Alliance. Also, the NAMI, National Alliance on Mental Illness, is having their walk, and we went to the kickoff, and Growing Works will have a team if the supervisors would like to join, or anyone else. We hope to raise lots of money for this organization that helps families supporting their members, their loved ones with mental illness. Also, we'll be attending on September 12th the Chatsworth Train Memorial Service in Chatsworth. That's tomorrow. So I know we're all invited to, but just to really recognize what kind of impact that had and some differences that it made in positive train engines. Also pointing out that We have, my office will be losing one of our staff members who's retiring. How can that be? Damon Week will be retiring, and so I just want to just acknowledge what a wonderful staff person he has been and a great representative for my district. He's helped us get the Carlisle Trail built. It was a big assist on the Potrero bike lanes. Has helped us significantly with the anticoagulant rodenticides that our county has taken a very strong lead in banning use in our county. And then also the Santa Rosa Valley Municipal Advisory Council, the Bell Canyon area. So just as some supervisors know, it's a big change when you lose a staff member. So we'll be looking, missing him and looking forward, yes, and stealing from each other, from staff people, right? And then finally, I would ask that we close in honor of the people on this list. And I would just point out that most of the individuals, 4 out of 7, are World War II veterans, including Wayne Downing, one of the few remaining World War II combat pilots. And he was awarded Distinguished Flying Crosses, 17 Air Medals, 6 ETO Battle Stars, 2 Presidential Unit Citations. And he continued his service to participate in search and recovery efforts. And then also John McGinn, he also served in World War II in Europe. Elmer Schultze, who at the age of 17 joined the Marine Corps, serving his country at the end of World War II and also in the Korean War. James Corbett, who achieved the rank of corporal while serving in the Army Air Force during World War II, and also a World War II veteran, obviously. He was stationed in Alaska. And then I also wanted to just also close in honor of Jean Bryce, a resident in Thousand Oaks. We received the first humanitarian award from the Los Robles Hospital and has volunteered many hours, including as a voluntary service with the Thousand Oaks Library. So I do ask that we close in memory of these people, and I know they will very much be missed. And that concludes my comments. Thank you.
Mr. Powers.
Thank you, Chair Foy, board members. Certainly echo the comments honoring those impacted by and who sacrificed bravely in response to 9/11. Wanted to pick up on the comments from Supervisor Zaragoza and Councilman Perello regarding efforts to support the water quality improvement efforts out in the harbor, particularly Seabridge, Westport, and Mandalay. So county staff has, and also on behalf of your board, county staff has met with the supervisor and the councilman, as well as city staff, and taken a number of steps to help with the issues, including moving up quarterly water quality testing, and all those tests have come back within standards. Also, Harbor and Public Works watershed staff have met with city staff to review the countywide TMDL permit. Those are the discharge permits, and provide data sets and analysis from the sampling done in the county-operated area of the harbor. Staff have located the water circulation studies prepared as part of the Seabridge approval process and shared them with city staff. And also, our harbor department has offered to purchase one of the water monitor systems that are needed to help the efforts out there in the harbor. And we're going to continue to work with the supervisor, your board, and the council and the city staff to address those efforts, and appreciate especially our harbor director, Mark Sandoval, who's been so supportive and is active with the community out there as well. So.
I just want to thank Mike, because we've had meetings with the council member, and he's very, very concerned about our constituency there, and also as myself, not just Oxnard people, go out to Seabridge. We have the entire county residents that go out there, and people from Los Angeles, people from San Francisco, from throughout, and we're very, very proud of that section. And Mike, I know you've met with the city manager of Oxnard and staff, so I really commend you for doing that. And I want to pledge my help to the city of Oxnard and to Councilman Perello to assist as much as I can, and I'm sure the county will do the same.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Supervisor. Just a couple more quick comments. Our team, Christy Madden, Barry Zimmerman, are working to make sure the county and working with our city partners as well are positioned well to receive some of the upcoming homeless funding from the state. Called the HEAP funding. And there's a short timeline on that, so folks are really digging in and working well on that. And then lastly, just to let you know, a group of us attended the Huron Healthcare Conference, National Conference in Nashville on August 21 through 23. Hospital CEO Kim Milstein, as well as the Chief Deputy Director of the Healthcare Agency, Matt Sandoval, and I attended. And it was really a very beneficial conference, and it was a lot of good information, but just interesting to see healthcare systems across this country are in the middle of transformations. And so we're right in the heart, and that was really great information. So appreciate it. Thank you.
I appreciate the update in terms of what's going on in the harbor, and certainly I respect Supervisor Zaragoza taking the lead on this with it primarily being in his district. We try to do that, but I certainly fully support what's going on. I do, particularly with the council member here, want to point out this is a classic example where working together between governments is the way to go to solve problems. But that should be our approach all the time to problems, and not just when it benefits one side or the other and stuff. So we just do better if we build the trust up by saying we always work our problems out rather than sometimes going the other way. Thank you very much.
That's a good comment. Yeah, it's true. Great. Well, thank you. And I do agree. In one sense, the 9/11 is a big deal. There's no question it's a big deal. You know, you think about where you were in the whole bit. The other side of that, it's, you know, things happen, but it's how we responded, and I think how we as a nation responded. There wasn't politics. There wasn't anything involved. It was just, you know, especially our first responders who run in and do whatever they got to do. They don't care who you are, what you are. We're here to save you and risk my life. And it just goes to show the greatness of America when you see those things. And so, and then you talk about different people. Like I said, we talked about Judy, you know, the person who gave her life and all the different things she did for this county. You know, Glenn Becerra, councilman, a lot of us know, he's retired after 20 years. Somebody else who committed a lot of time to his, you know, to the city and what goes on in the county. And then you see the 10th anniversary of this train wreck. I can't believe it's been 10 years, and, you know, 25 victims and 21 from Ventura County. But it's tough. But like Supervisor Park said, there's been a lot of changes, a lot of things come out of it. It's tough because you learn from mistakes, and that's it. But it was a lot of people coming out. And then I do want to adjourn the memory of people on this list, but I want to take out one. I don't know if you guys all remember Caitlin Barshaw, who worked for me. She was in our office and stuff. I don't know if you've heard about this, but she had moved. She'd married a Navy guy, and they'd moved up north, and he'd got out of the Navy, and they're up north. And was driving one time with another lady with their kids, and somebody hit them head on and killed her 7-month-old baby. And just tough, just unbelievably tough. And yeah, so it's one of those things you realize, you go, wow. And Caitlin I've known since she was a kid, one of my daughter's best friends.
Was it like texting while driving or something?
Huh?
Was the?
I think it was probably distracted driving.
Yeah, distracted
that kind of thing. And it was just terrible. It's funny because we were at the beach, and it's only 3 days earlier I was holding that baby, and yeah, just a tough one. But so our thoughts go out to her, and it was a premature, and she worked so hard for the, you know. And anyway, just tough times, and you realize that certain things change people's lives, and but anyway, so.
Supervisor Foy, along those lines, we had a very tragic accident at 118 and Balcom Canyon Road. I think Supervisor Long for also sending a letter and trying to get Caltrans to expedite getting that traffic signal there to make it safer. But yeah, you know, you don't know what's going to happen, like you're saying, from one day to the next. But this is something that we need to work on.
Yeah, there's no question, and it was tough. So anyway, I do want to adjourn the memory of the rest of the people. It's 33 people on that list. It's tough, especially when you know a few of them. So anyway, all right. And so let's move on. We've got a few minutes till our first time certain at 10 o'clock. So why don't we go to our regular agenda? And I think a couple of those are mine anyway. So item number 50 is recommendation to appoint Ronald the El Remo Rancho Simi Cemetery Board. A motion and a second. Will vote, please. Thank you. And then this is also a recommendation for a bunch of other people who sit on a bunch of other boards in town. A lot of names in there, so I'll make a motion when it comes up. Quick and easy. All vote. Thank you. And then we'll move on to item 52, approval of the response to the 2017-18 Ventura County Grand Jury. Mr. Pettit.
Good morning, Chair Foy, members of the board, CEO Powers, welcome back. The item before you today consists of our last set of reports in response to 4 grand jury reports. The first one of which is the opioid crisis in Ventura County. The second one is Ventura County Medical Center 340B drug pricing program, the Ventura County Dam Safety Report, and the annual detention report. The reports have all been provided for your consideration. To highlight just a very high summary, because there's a lot of material in there. Your board was asked to respond on the opioid crisis report to 5 conclusions and 5 recommendations. The report, our response concludes that we agree with conclusion 1 that the opioid crisis is a growing problem in our county. We disagree wholly or partially with conclusions 2 through 5. Recommendations 2 through 5 have been implemented, and recommendations 1 and 3 will not be implemented because they're not warranted at this time. I'd add, in terms of the opioid crisis, our county really has been a leader. We have some amazing staff with our healthcare agency. They're all here, and should your board have any detailed questions on the response, we have Johnson Gill, and then Savette Johnson and Loretta Dennering, who has much experience in the opioid crisis area. We've really, and one of the points in our responses, the grand jury was concerned that we overly focus on addressing the problem and not as much in the prevention. And our funding is restricted according to the programs that provide the source of the funding, grant funding, Medi-Cal funding, et cetera. And in our county, we actually spend on average twice as much as the recommended amount on prevention. So it really is a focus. And just to show how important the opioid crisis is, you may have seen our CEO recently sent out a letter to all county employees offering services, immediate services. It's such a crisis, and it's a preventable crisis, the services to families who are struggling with the opioid addiction. So we really feel like we're leading in this area and tackling it head on. And we want to make the grand jury aware of that response. In terms of the Ventura County Medical Center 340B drug pricing program, your board was asked to respond on 5 conclusions and 5 recommendations. We agree with all the conclusions, C1 through C5. Recommendation 4 has been implemented. Recommendations 1 will be implemented within 90 days, and recommendation 3 will be followed. The recommendations 2 and 5 require further study. In terms of the Ventura County Dam Safety Report, your board was asked to respond to 1 comment and 2 recommendations. The Watershed Protection District was also asked to respond to 2 comments and 1 recommendation. And because your board oversees the Watershed Board, that report is there for your consideration and approval as well. The sheriff was also asked to respond to 6 comments and 5 recommendations. As an elected official, the sheriff's response does not require approval by your board, but it was attached with this board letter for your consideration and reference. In summary, we wholly disagree with conclusion 10, and recommendation 5 has already been implemented, and the recommendation will not be implemented as it's not warranted. Then lastly, on the annual detention report, your board was asked to respond to 6 conclusions and 3 recommendations. The sheriff was also asked to respond to 3 comments and 3 recommendations. Again, as an elected official, the response from the sheriff is included for your reference. We agree with conclusion 13 and disagree with the remaining 5 conclusions that we were asked to respond on. Recommendation 1 has been implemented. Recommendations 2 and 4 will not be implemented as they're not warranted. I do have experts from the respective agencies, the healthcare agency, as I mentioned, Johnson Gill, Kim Milstein, Savette Johnson, and Loretta Dennering are here to answer any detailed questions you might have. on the opioid crisis and the Ventura County Medical Center 340B drug program report. We also have Kevin McGowan, Jeff Pratt, and Glenn Shepard here from the Watershed Protection District and Public Works and OES on the dam safety, and Tim Deller from the Probation Agency in response to the annual detention report.
Okay, any comments, questions? No?
On the one on the dams, there was a comment that the public isn't well informed on the status, and I know we're saying we disagree on that item, and also the public's information about inundation areas, whether they're knowledgeable of that. The question I have is, where would the public find information like that if they wanted to?
Sure. We'll invite Kevin McGowan down here to share more detail on that.
Good morning, Chair, board members, Mr. Powers. For the record, Kevin McGowan, Sheriff's Office of Emergency Services. The primary place that we house that information is on our Ready Ventura County website, and part of it is encapsulated within the hazard mitigation plan. So we have all of the dam inundation zones, what their hazard, the locations that impact the inundation areas available on that website. And when we go out and do our community engagement and public preparedness information, we look at all those hazards and direct people to that information. In addition to that, we partner with the Watershed Protection District and Public Works Agency to share that information so that they have their outlets on their websites also.
Thank you. I know that the grand jury had some learning to do too in terms of what is required by the state in terms of making sure the inspections are done. And so that was good information just in and of itself too. Thank you.
Mr. Chair, Kevin, do they have signs for those areas that are subject to the inundation, similar to what we have for the tsunami signs over at the beach?
There are not signs placed in inundation zones at this time.
But it's in the website, it's in the, okay. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Kevin, thank you for all your work you're doing with making sure we're prepared for if we ever get a storm after the Thomas Fire and so forth. But my question is on the opioid addiction. So I don't think you're, I think.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
I do agree with the grand jury that concluded the opioid related deaths and opioid abuse in general are a growing program in Ventura County. And I appreciate the information provided to the grand jury into how we're spending the money and where we're going. Perception is always something that we have to fight against. And so I just would ask, how do we better market? How do we get out more information? I know we're working with 211 with suicide prevention and so forth, but if it was opioid addiction, I'm just, sometimes we have to look out of the box to make sure that people know that we're doing, that they know what services we have and where the money is being spent. So I just ask the team that's in the back to maybe just look at how do we get that messaging out to our folks as best as possible to educate our community.
Good morning, everyone. Loretta Dennering, for the record, Chief of Alcohol and Drug Programs for Behavioral Health. So one of the things that we have recently launched is our website, VenturaCountyResponds.org, which is all opiates all the time. So it's everything that the community and family members and healthcare providers would need to know on our efforts in our county. And also in our 10:30 presentation, we'll talk more about our treatment expansion, which is heavily driven by the opioid crisis, and how we will market the services and all of the things to come this year.
And so if I don't know anything about everyone's websites, can I just get that when I ask about Ventura County? Will that be on the website and push me through to that?
Yes, so if you Google, it'll lead you right to our website.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
And then we also have lots of marketing materials that we are placing throughout the county.
Thank you. All right, make a motion.
Any further questions?
Always great to have great team members to help you out, huh?
Absolutely.
All right, any more comments, questions on this at all? No?
Thank you, Mike.
Thank you, Mike. Appreciate it. Okay, we are going to move to our 10 o'clock time certain. We're going to honor a special person who's been here for 31 years. Long time, long time. And Scott Barish, Scott, you want to come down? You want to sit up front? I'm going to read this resolution. I know there's a couple people who'd like to talk after that. Almost made a career, 31 years. That's pretty good. Just a little bit. All right, let me read this.
Thank you.
It says, honoring Scott Barish for his 31 years of dedicated public service, whereas Scott Barish began his career with the County of Ventura March 16, 1987, a psychiatrist, social worker to EAP representative, having come from Santa Barbara, California, Santa Barbara Child Guidance Clinics, working with individuals, children, and adolescents and families. And in June 1990, he moved to the Behavioral Health Crisis Team as a psychiatrist, social worker too. Then in 91, returned to the Employee Assisted Program, the EAP program, as a senior program administrator. And in 2005, promoted to Staff Service Manager 3. And in 2012, promoted to Program Manager Analyst. Just keep moving up the lines. I love it. So knowing that, that the first contact is crucial in establishing trust during the course of employment, he has continuously ensured that the EAP fosters an accepting and caring atmosphere for all county employees. I don't know if a lot of you understand that EAP program, which is a really important program for when something happens to employees and things. There's people here to help out in a lot of different things in people's lives. So it's a really important thing that's offered. Scott has evolved the depth of reach of the EAP by expanding and developing multiple trainings and support services such as peer support programs, surviving curbism, managing gossip and grudges, de-escalation training, trauma training, a lot of great things. A lot of people don't think, well, grudge training. A lot of people have things against people, and it's really important to have these opportunities to find ways to settle these things without major conflicts. And then in collaboration with the Service Excellence staff, HR Training Division, Work Life, Family Public Health, Behavioral Health, Scott has taken part in the presentation of the Real Colors, Conflict Resolution, the LEAF, Nuts and Bolts Training, Trauma Response Network, worked alongside the Wellness Program, providing parenting classes, elder support groups. What haven't you done? In the spirit of never saying no to requests for help, as you can see, that's why he's done so many things, by sharing his wisdom, knowledge, and kindness and discipline through many trainings, support groups, meditations, critical incident debriefings, supervisory consultants. He has made an important difference in the lives of countless employees and their families. And these kind of things really do change people's lives. And now upon his retirement, he remains committed to his belief and his refusal to say no to any challenges. He also remains devoted to his wife, Debbie, children Anna, David, and Ricky, and his extended family and friends. Now, therefore, be it resolved, the Ventura County Board of Supervisors recognizes and thanks Scott Barish for his 31 years to the many employees of Ventura County. So thank you very much. I know you've touched a lot of people. Huh? Mike, I know you have some comments to make here.
Thank you, Chair Foy. I'll try to be brief, but we've got a really nice retirement event for Scott the other day with tons of people. But I remember last week, I think it was Scott's last day, he comes bopping into my office. He says, Mike, I got another great idea. You're going to love it. What does he want to do? He wants to put this very powerful display out in our entryway here to warn of the and it's out there now.
Alcohol. No,
Oh, right, the tie-in is beautiful. Excellent strategy. Yes, good planning. But to put on a powerful display out in our entryway here on the dangers of opioid abuse and treatments that are available. And that's Scott, and really my expectation, maybe it's my hope, is that every few months he's going to keep coming in with one of those ideas, although I know he needs to take time. But, you mentioned how many years of service, but 26 of those was as director of the EAP program. So essentially, Scott built this program. And you're exactly right. He built it on trust and compassion. And we get so many comments from hundreds of county employees about how Scott and his team helps employees in their time of need. And it's just, you talk about a work culture. We call this the county family. This EAP program in Scott's work is a huge part of that. The other thing he developed with his team is a program that, if there's a particular department or area that's having a challenge, change management, or it's a culture issue, they go in there and help out sort of proactively. And I had to apologize to him the other day for how many times we've referred folks to that program, but it's just so effective because it works. It just works every time. And I want to touch on real quick the ripple effect. So Scott helps employees, one at a time. But so many of those employees are out in the community helping vulnerable people during challenging times when they need help. And so you've got to know that the employees that he helped who are providing that service were more effective in helping those people in need. And so the number of people that Scott and his team have impacted both in our county family and our community is in the thousands. And it's a legacy that will live on. And there was so many speakers who knew when it was going to stop, but a couple of them really struck me. One of them was our fire chief, Mark Lorenzen, who's, this crisis incident debriefing, when those firefighters have to deal with some really tough challenges, they're helping other people, but who's going to help them cope with that trauma? And that's Scott and his team there to help them in their time of need. And then there was another a young student, a social work student, who just came to just say thank you because you encouraged her when she was becoming a social worker to get her hours and to get her tests done and all that stuff. So the range of people that Scott has helped with this program is amazing. And he also got some great gifts, including what he really wanted was one of those emergency medical services shirts, and he got one. So it was awesome. But I really just want to capture the spirit of the room and at least try, which was at the end of the day, to quote at that famous beer ad, Scott, we love you, man. And you have meant so much to us here at the county, and I'm just so happy for you and your wife, Deb, and your beautiful family, and just wish you a happy and joyous retirement. Thank you, my friend.
I'm going to break for
You can change people's lives. Kids can't get through the door.
Wonderful. It's been a wonderful, wonderful experience. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Scott. Come here. You need to make some comments. So sit up here, talk from right here, make some comments. Sounds like you've done everything else here.
This could be my next job. I like it. Well, of course, I mean, I can't tell you how much I appreciate and how much it's been an honor to work with this county and work with the county employees over the 30 years and how things have evolved because, just being part of the changes that take place and the slow progression to feeling for employees to feel connected, to feel engaged, to expand, and it wasn't just me, but there was also the climate that's changed over time too, that really promoted this idea that, engaged employees or employees that were less, subjected to the stress of trauma or the stress of just daily living were more effective, happier employees. And I'm really glad to have been a part of it. But that's really it. I've been a part of it. And it's allowed me to be creative. And I'm, hoping and looking forward that my successor also has that same momentum and can be as creative. And it's also because it's in an environment such as this county that's allowed that to happen. So that's all I have. So thank you very much.
Let's do that. And then we'll go down. Let's take one up here.
I didn't mind breaking protocol, right? So,
absolutely.
Let's do it. Precedent?
Let's do it. Senior innovator. Come on, get in here. Come here, Leroy. Get up here. Come on, Leroy. Get in here. Get this whole group up here. Jeff, you got to come? I guess you want to talk to you. Jeff, come up here, man. All right. This whole group up here. Then we'll go down and take one. Get his wife.
Okay. Who am I looking at? What camera?
I don't know. Let's go down and get the rest of it.
Okay, and then get the rest of your crew. Emily's coming up. Yeah. Anybody who wants to come home. Okay, so
Here we go, sir. Get right here. Get your whole group together.
all right.
Here we go. Get the rest of your group up there. Come on, guys. There you go. Sprinkle in. Want to stand next to him? Come on.
I've been with them for 31 years.
Oh, okay. You're committed, huh? Where is she? Oh, come on. Come on. Get up here. There we go. Look at that. Then the boss will tell you that he's going to take it.
Now it's my turn. Everybody ready? 1, 2, 3. One more just in case. It's our last chance. 1, 2, 3.
All right, thank you.
So we all want to know what this.
Thank you so much.
All right.
Thank you very much.
I just laughed at the need to do a photo bomb.
You like change and excitement, right? How's your shoulder?
I ignore it.
Good, that's what I do.
If I don't use it, it doesn't hurt.
I said, it's got to be, is it your right? There's got to be something going on in that office over there. People have shoulder surgeries all the time. Yeah. I know, I'm doing it on purpose. Should we tell the truth about Kelly? Oh, shoot, I should shut that.
So I'm next, right? Well, yeah. 2 minutes? Okay.
It's a family. Yeah, it's a family, yeah.
So we need some middle.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chair. You know, it's really an honor to share information right now on Graciela Casillas. Graciela, you want to come to the podium? And I have a resolution that I'd like to read. And this is to honor and to present the resolution to Graciela Casillas, who is a martial arts expert and a tremendous athlete. But before I start sharing some information about Graciela,
John, we can't see her talents on you or down there.
So, I was out there praying and said, hey, I would before I start telling you about Graciela's many martial arts accomplishments, I'd just like to acknowledge her for being an outstanding advocate and role model for women. Graciela, you know, I have 3 granddaughters. One's a 19-year-old and a 23 and a 24-year-old. And you're the type of individual and type of woman that really is a role model for them to follow. And I want to thank you for that. She's used to be training and experienced in teaching women not to become victims. Teach them for mental preparation, training, and willingness to act are important part of Graciela's instructions. Just as important in her accomplishments are tangible proof of her instructions to her students. Let me tell you a few words or accomplishments about Grisela. Whereas in 1976, she became the Women's Karate Association Bantamweight Champion of the world. Unbelievable. In 1979, she became the first fighter to hold world titles in both boxing and kickboxing by taking the World Boxing Association and World Boxing Association Bantamweight Championship. But she wasn't done. Whereas in 1986, she retired as undefeated with a world record of 31-0, where she became, thank you. And then she wasn't finished, then she got inducted into the Martial Arts Hall of Fame. Really an outstanding accomplishments. And therefore, Grisela has earned 2 master's degrees besides being an athlete as she is. And she studied many types of martial arts, including Taekwondo, karate, jiu-jitsu, just to name a few. Whereas Grisela developed the martial arts of Chin Chu Do, is that correct? Go ahead and pronounce it.
Shin Chun Do, the way of the warrior spirit.
Chin Chin Do, that's pretty close. Whereas July of this year, she competed in Lisbon, Portugal, and the Global Stick Blade Alliance champion in the women's middle age in the senior division. Grisela is believed to be, by many in the martial arts, to be a pioneer in women's combat sports and has opened doors for many women who now follow in her steps. Grisela has been an educator at Oxnard College for many, many years, and we are so fortunate to have her here as a member of the community. Now, therefore, let it be resolved, the Ventura County Board of Supervisors hereby honor Grisela Casillas for her achievements as a world champion athlete and a world-renowned icon within the international realm of female combat sports. Congratulations. It's really an honor for you to be here today. Grisela, you'd like to share some words, and I'll go down and present the resolution to you. Thank you again.
Thank you. I just want to say that it's a great honor to receive this recognition. I am a product of Ventura County, starting with Grayland Avenue Elementary School in Oxnard, and went to Ventura College before I went off to UCSB. So even though I left for years, I did come back. I came home, and I've been back in Ventura County for the past 20 years. So Ventura County is important to me. Working with young people is important. And even though I'm an educator by day, I continue to educate by evening. I have my own school, a martial arts school, where I serve young people and specifically like to get the word out to more women, knowing that they do have options, that we don't have to be a victim, that we can be educated, that we can be feminine, that we can be beautiful, and we can be powerful. And I think that's an important message that young people need, especially our young ladies. So it's an honor to be here, and thank you very much for this opportunity.
Thank you, Grisela. You know, Grisela's here with her brothers and the family, but one of the things I'd like to share is that how come she got so attractive? What happened to the brothers? I shouldn't share that. And I know Arturo Casillas, works for the city of Oxnard, and we have some other members of the family. You want to come over and we'll take some photos?
And my daughter, Selena, who's
And your
also
daughter,
an
too.
instructor.
Yeah, she is up here.
No, Adam, I was going to mention you.
Don't mess with Mom.
Which way do you want us? This way? Okay. This is yours. And by the way, the words that I just shared is just very, very little of what she has done. I didn't do the justice to her for sharing those words, but she really deserves a lot more. Mm-hmm.
Wow.
All right, Kung Fu position, please.
That'd be nice to her, John.
I know. I'm about to.
Yeah, you better bow.
Thank you so much. It's an honor.
Thank you for coming in. It's wonderful to hear about this. All right, we had to wait to be on time at 10:30, so we are on time. All right. We have item number 44, adoption resolution establishing 7 full regular full-time positions. Our ladies are here. Glad to see you again. Thank you.
Good morning. Thank you. Good morning, Chair Foy, supervisors of the board, CEO Powers. For the record, I'm Sabette Johnson, your Behavioral Health Director, and I'm here with Dr. Loretta Denirin, our Alcohol and Drug Program Division Chief. We're excited to be here today and thankful for your time to present an overview of the drug Medi-Cal organized delivery system that we are set to go live with as of December 1st of this year. You'll see that there are significant changes, and we are humbly requesting 7 positions in order to really improve access, quality of treatment, and provide a true continuum of care for alcohol and drug services in our county. Without further ado, I'll pass it on to Loretta. Thank you again.
Good morning again, Chair Foy, supervisors, and Mr. Powers. Again, for the record, Loretta Dennering, Behavioral Health. And we'll just get right in. So we will be talking about the transformation of our SUD treatment system here in Ventura County as part of the federal drug Medi-Cal organized delivery system waiver. So what is DMC ODS that we know and love to call it here? What it is, it's an opportunity through the 1115 federal waiver to modify, significantly overhaul our substance use disorder treatment system in many ways, in many similar ways that our mental health system was modified through the 1115 waiver. It's based on standards and regulations through the Centers for Medicaid and Medicare Services, and all modifications and expansions and everything that we will be doing is based on Title 42 CFR Part 438 managed care requirements, something our hospital system, mental health system have also undergone the transformation. So we are the next branch within our health system to make these changes into managed care. So the next slide, basically ODS equals managed care. So what that means is making improvements to our system to focus on critical elements. The second bullet being very significant in that increasing local controls and accountability with greater administrative oversight at the county level and at the behavioral health level. Typically, our services are historically have been dictated by funding stream, have been dictated by referral source, and behavioral health and the SUD administrators didn't necessarily have the say that they probably should have had as far as establishing treatment protocols and really honing in on the healthcare regulations. And to make that happen as part of the transformation, the benefits that will be offered under the system are all modeled under the American Society for Addiction Medicine criteria, ASAM. It's a standardized way of assessing individuals in need of SUD services and establishing a level of care. Again, historically, assessments, there are many assessments, many screening tools, and many counties and municipalities were kind of all over the place. And with this, it's a standardized, vetted assessment criteria that will help place people at the correct level of care. The intent of DMC ODS is to provide beneficiaries, Medi-Cal beneficiaries, with access to the right level of care and the system interactions needed to achieve sustainable recovery. This overhaul will demonstrate how an organized SUD system can increase the success of beneficiaries and people going into our treatment system while also decreasing other health system costs. Again, right now, sometimes people don't end up in our system until they first go through the emergency department or other avenues within the county and use a lot of resources to eventually get to the treatment that they've actually needed all along.
Could I just want to interrupt you?
Yes.
If there is a way to actually track and quantify those decreases that could be in the healthcare costs, that could be really helpful for us. I know if conceptually we know it's the case, and if we know anecdotally it's the case, it's one thing, but if we actually could track it, it would really be helpful
Absolutely.
for funding purposes.
Yes, and as
stuff.
part of this overhaul, there are a ton of reporting requirements that require us to work within our healthcare agency and within our other county entities to track those referrals and to track those cost decreases. So just a brief overview on our timeline. We applied back in November 2016. It's taken a couple years of planning, which is typical for all the counties that have gone live. Our fiscal rates were approved earlier this March. We completed our readiness review audit with the State Department of Healthcare Services this August. And I have to say it was scheduled for a 2 full days of audit where they go through your entire plan, all of your policies, procedures, workflows, budgets, everything that you intend on doing. Scheduled to take 2 full days. We completed the entire thing in 3 hours and 15 minutes. It was a record for the state. And our preparation was so wonderful to them that they're using our system as a model for the other counties that are going live this year. So that was really exciting. So we will be going live on December 1st, and this first waiver period ends June of 2020. And like all 1115 waivers, that it is anticipated that it will be renewed for a second period or a subsequent period beginning in 2020 through 2025. To date, 40 counties in California are planning to either opt in or have already gone live. And the state anticipates that with those 40 out of 58 counties going live, we will cover 96% of Medi-Cal beneficiaries in the state with these new services. So again, just to reiterate the importance of the ASAM tool and what that is, and I won't go through it all, but again, we're really trying to standardize assessments and really make sure that people are placed at the appropriate levels of care. And so we want to look at all dimensions that factor into what kind of treatment people need. And that includes looking at withdrawal management, the biopsychosocial, the emotional, recovery, relapse support, all of those things. And rather than have people in siloed episodic treatment, the intent of using this ASAM criteria is to have people move through a continuum of care so that they don't get stuck at the 2 highest levels of care, being the emergency department and then the second medically monitored withdrawal management. 2 very expensive services, 2 very time-consuming services, and the intent is to get people stabilized and then move them through the full continuum. So again, this is a snapshot of the improvements in care. If you see the 2 bars on your left, show you our current program offerings. And the first column are the state-required standard drug Medi-Cal benefits, which at this time are pretty paltry. And so additional services are often covered through other funding sources, or in some cases they're not provided because counties do not have the outside Medi-Cal funding to provide these services. So as you can see on the right, we will be offering a plethora of services, most importantly, expanding our residential treatment services. Currently, drug Medi-Cal only pays for residential for perinatal women. And there is a current restriction per Title 22 that limits the number of beds you can have at a facility. So you can only have 16 beds. So with the waiver, it removes the bed restriction. So we will be able to increase capacity at our current sites. And then we will also be able to add residential treatment for men and for adolescents through drug Medi-Cal. We will also be able to expand our withdrawal management. That's what we used to call detox. And then to Supervisor Long's point earlier about the opioid crisis, we will be able to have additional medication-assisted treatment options for opioid use disorder. Currently, we have, there are FDA-approved medications that have been approved through for payment through drug Medi-Cal last year. And with the waiver, there are additional benefits, additional medications that we can offer that will all be billable through drug Medi-Cal now. So that's very exciting.
It's a huge expansion.
It's a huge expansion. Huge. One of the other huge pieces now is care coordination. So to Supervisor Bennett's point about reducing costs in other health systems, one of the things we have an issue with now is, a lack of care coordination even within our own agency, not necessarily moving people out of the ED into withdrawal management, into residential, and then outpatient. With this, we are on the hook for actually coordinating care through the entire county. So we will be working with ambulatory care. We will be working with the hospital to make sure that we move all of those patients, even those receiving office-based treatment through their primary care physician, making sure that we at Behavioral Health are providing the psychosocial counseling and everything else that they need as part of the full continuum. So this is just a quick graphic on our full continuum of care. So again, we will continue all of our wonderful prevention and early intervention work and moving people through outpatient, intensive outpatient and hospitalization, through residential and medically managed withdrawal management. And again, we are required to have new elements, including the 24-hour call center, the additional medication-assisted treatment, the care coordination and case management, and then recovery support services, or what we used to call aftercare, which typically is also not funded through Drug Medi-Cal. So that's another huge benefit, so that people don't just get sent on their merry way, that it can actually come back and receive services and we can bill. So with all of these new rules and regulations, of course, we have staffing and federal mandates that we have to meet as part of the 438 managed care requirements. Again, the new requirements are quality improvement and assurance, medication-assisted treatment. Again, we'll have additional medication options and services. Our beneficiary access line that's 24/7, making sure that someone has access to a live person to conduct a screening over the phone. Any kind of pre-authorization into residential treatment, they'll be able to do over the phone, and then get an appointment immediately to come see someone face-to-face. Our centralized care coordination, which is a new requirement. And then finally, a utilization review nurse, which means upgrading the staffing to include registered nurse so that we can make sure that we are providing the right amount of services to each individual and that they're not being overloaded with services that may not be appropriate. And again, all of our mandates will be outlined per 438 requirements. And I like to throw in the little tidbit that the state likes to remind us that it's either all or nothing. You're either in or you're out. And if you don't do it all, you can't bill. So that's it. Any questions?
I think you answered it all. Very good. Very good.
Good job.
Wow.
Does this include alcohol too?
I'm sorry?
Does it include alcohol too?
Yes, so this is the full continuum for any alcohol, meth, any primary drug, secondary drug.
And the 24-hour call center, so if they're having trouble any time of the
2 o'clock in the
can
morning,
call
you need to talk to someone, yes.
and get some support. And that support would be both maybe emotional as well as where they can go if they need to get treatment.
Yes.
Wow.
Good. Kelly? Supervisor Walters?
Yes, so this program is not a new program, it's building it more robust.
Is building a more robust, right, and a more organized way of having our substance use services provided. Again, right now, most services are kind of done on an ad hoc basis based on funding stream, can kind of dictate what level of care someone receives. So if a referral from probation versus HSA based on contracts and this and that, you may get different options as far as treatment because it depends on what is covered financially. Now with Drug Medi-Cal being the primary payer and with most of our patients being Medi-Cal eligible, they will all be subject to this more robust benefit package, and so they don't have to be a specialized referral from another department that's willing to pay extra for residential services. They can get that because through Drug Medi-Cal, they're all entitlement benefits. So as long as someone meets medical necessity for a particular service, they won't be denied.
And then the second question I have is that we know funding changes. So I'm concerned with adding new FTEs where we see this projection if it's a new pilot and they go, oh, crud, it's going to cost us more money to do this, let's not do this. What are the projections? What are they stating on this program,
Right.
more robust program?
So the projections are that it will be renewed for another 5-year waiver period. Most counties that have already gone live have completely overhauled their systems and spent millions of dollars to do so. The state is anticipating that regardless of what goes on at the federal level, that California will maintain this structure. California is the first state to actually implement this federal waiver, and so all the other states are looking at us to see what's happening. And so far, it's doing what it has intended to do as far as reducing costs and reducing availabilities for beds and other services. So we anticipate that this will continue on and eventually just be business as usual, and the label pilot will be removed, and this will just be how we do business.
Okay, and lastly, with the 7 FTEs, did we look at subcontracting? I know this is a grant fund. We are able to utilize this funding the way we want it to. And so I wanted to make sure we were making the right decisions, whether it's outsourcing or hiring within.
So we have looked at all options. As far as the positions that we're asking for, the psych techs will cover the after hours and weekend services. We have looked into contracting that out, and the quotes that we have received have been double the amount that it would be to add FTEs here. Also, my previous experience in Los Angeles County, we were also going around the same boat. We're going to contract everything out until we got that final bid. Multi-million-dollar contract every single year. So the county said no to that and opted to operate it itself, and it was a quarter of the cost.
Thank you. I appreciate the due diligence. It's important for us to understand the decisions made because we'll be asked those questions as well. Thank you.
Let me just ask, because that's part of our goal here is that we want to perform these at the best we can. We also don't want to disrupt people's lives we hire and then have to let somebody go. These people who end up being in these positions, what's their qualification?
So these people would be licensed, either licensed vocational nurses or other licensed substance use disorder treatment assessors who would be able to do assessments over the phone and authorizations over the phone. So they'd be certified counselors or licensed professionals.
Are these also people that we have already, like these people, those kind of qualified people in our system now?
We do currently, so we're hoping that we would get some of our own folks to actually transition into these positions.
So I guess part of why I'm asking that is this, if for some reason, like Supervisor Long talked about this, we change it all. There's an opportunity for those people to fill right back into our system.
Yes.
We're not in a position, we don't want to just add people and then hopefully.
Correct. And the funding that would be used for these positions isn't contingent to the waiver. It's funding that we already have through our substance abuse prevention block grant and through 2011 realignment. You are actually prohibited from using drug Medi-Cal to fund the positions. So the state and the feds gave us the mandates, but not the money. So we're using existing sources, and we've already repurposed many of our positions to create this unit. And these are the last pieces that we need to get these mandates up.
Great. No, I appreciate Supervisor Long's concern with that thing. So that's great. Any other comments or questions on this? You did a wonderful presentation.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
I would just say that Dr. Dinnering actually implemented this program in Los Angeles County, so on a much larger scale. So you can see the benefit of her experience coming to fruition here for Ventura.
I was just thinking, too, as we have it more coordinated here in our county and other counties do also, that there can also be cross-county coordination, too, for those that may need that assistance.
Yep.
Mr. Chair, I just want to thank again, behavioral health does an excellent job all the time, and I just want to thank, I see we have a lot of, people here from behavioral health, and thank you for the good work that you all do.
Thank you.
Yeah, so we have a motion, we have a second. Will you please vote? Thank you very much. Yvette? Yvette, can I see you right there for a minute? Brian, I'm going to give you this real quick. I don't have a second.
You want to use mine? Oh.
Okay. So we're going to move on to our item number 45. Dave, the things you bring us.
Yes, sir. You got 3 from me this morning, so 3 out of the next 4. Good morning, Chair Foy, Supervisor, CEO, Powers. For the record, I'm Dave Fleisch with the Public Works Agency. This item before you this morning is related to Pyru Track Map 5553. On August 1st, 2017, your board approved the final map and subdivision improvement agreements for this tract, which authorizes 91 new residential dwelling units in the area northeast of the intersection of State Route 126 and Main Street in the community of Pyru in the unincorporated county. Under condition RPD 38 of the conditions of residential plan development, the permittee is required to build improvements on the east side of Main Street from Highway 126 to Sacramento Street. This includes an 8-foot sidewalk and an 8-foot parkway in addition to the roadway surface. On the east side of Main Street, there are 2 parcels that the developer has no control over. And under the condition of the permit, the permittee has no obligation with regard to those properties unless the owners agree to allow the construction on those properties. One parcel is owned by the Southern California Gas Company, has 31 feet of frontage. The other is owned by a private property owner and has 138 feet of frontage on Main Street. The permittee hired consultants, and they went and did an appraisal of the property and provided an appraisal for the property for Southern Cal Edison at $2,480, I'm sorry, and the 980 square foot of privately owned parcel at $9,800. Our Public Works Real Estate Services have verified that that's fair market value for those properties. The permittee's made written offer to the privately owned parcel, and the property owner has declined. They've been communicating with Southern Cal Edison for quite some time and have gotten no response. Southern Cal Gas, I'm sorry, Southern Cal Gas, and get those 2 confused sometimes, although they're very different services. Southern Cal Gas, and they have declined to respond, so they've not actually gotten a formal appraisal, but per county council, that's them not responding is tantamount to them disapproving this. So what I have in Exhibit 1 that you have here, it shows these, but I thought it might be better to see them in a little larger perspective up on the board. So for the Southern Cal Gas portion, this is what it would look like with the right-of-way improvements, and the right-of-way is essentially that concrete piece that's right in front of their fence. Without the right-of-way improvements, essentially the developer would just flop the sidewalk in the parkway, and in that stretch in front of them, there would essentially be driveway there and not parkway. For the private property, as you see here, if they were to relocate the wall, it would make a substantial reduction in the property owner's yard, and that's what it would look like with the improvements. If we were to get the right-of-way without the improvements, it would look like this. So essentially, you still have the sidewalk, you still have public access, you just don't have the parkway in that particular area. By the way, the developer's also here, Tim Cohen from the developers here, if you have any questions for him. So under the condition, your board may elect to exercise the power of eminent domain to acquire the right-of-way for either or both properties. If your board elects to exercise the power, the county would be responsible for paying that fair market value for the property and any necessary costs or legal fees. The permittee would be required to do the construction and pay for that, but would not be reimbursing us for the cost of the property. It would just be for the construction once the property was accepted. If your board elects not to exercise the power of eminent domain, the permittee wouldn't have any requirement to develop and do the work for the parkway. We believe, Public Works, that your board should not pursue the exercise of eminent domain under the facts here. There's no safety impacts or otherwise other than aesthetics for this. The removal of the parkway is feasible and won't really have any impact. And the contractors already, or the developers already provided plans to be able to put in the sidewalk without the parkway. So we've got pedestrian safety in that area and so forth without it. So pending your questions.
From my standpoint, sure, if you, I guess, get that, it looks pretty cool and all that stuff, but I don't know if we can force somebody to, we're not going to force somebody to sell their property, especially when there's no safety reasons. But so I would, my belief is I'd take your recommendation and not do any eminent domain at all. But so.
was since I wasn't on this board when the drawings initially were there, had anyone looked at the current properties and said we can't do that because we don't own the property?
My understanding in this, the approval of these conditions was about 10 years ago, before, before many of us were here.
Right.
There's a general plan condition that requires the parkway, and that was done not specifically with respect to each property. It was a general condition of the area-specific plan for Piru. So once the property, or once the developer began into the process and we realized this was the issue, we have to follow what the condition says, and that's why we're here.
Well, thank you, and I appreciate you bringing this today. This is one item that I did not want to, this is one item I wanted to make sure we were extremely transparent on. I think eminent domain and taking a property when there's no safety issues is extremely concerning. And I agree with staff's position of the drawings that you currently showed of not taking the eminent domain. There's no safety issue allowed, safety issue for having it to be there. I think the safety issue is making sure that we have a sidewalk that is flat, that is there for a community, especially with ADA, that people in Piru can walk or transport through the sidewalks. I don't think that there's any need personally to be taking someone's property and mandating that they hand it over. Now, I understand one of the properties is Southern California Gas, and then is it the other Habitat for Humanities?
It's a private property. I understand that when the house was constructed, it was constructed by Habitat for Humanity.
Okay. I definitely don't want to be in the middle of a property dispute with Habitat for Humanity as well. So I personally would like to motion to not pursue eminent domain on this.
I agree, and just move that we do not begin eminent domain. The necessity is not there if there is such a thing.
Well, and just to have that conversation, I know that we have our general plan coming up. We have many different ordinances that are coming up to us as a board, and I do respect people's private property. And I think that as a board, we do need to have to be discussing these out in transparent so people know what's going on, personally.
Okay. No more questions? If she keeps her comments down, then we can get right at 11 o'clock on our next item, be right on time.
And just thank you to staff for your recommendation. I appreciate that.
All right, so we have a motion and a second. We're voting to take the staff's recommendation, not to pursue. Thank you, appreciate it, Dave. And we're 1 minute late because of extra comments, but we'll move to number 46, report from Graham here from CSAC.
Thank you very much for having Graham Knaus speak today. He is from our Executive Director for California State Association of Counties. As many of you always wave to me.
Did you
and
ask him to
say,
come?
Yes, and have fun.
And with her, you said yes?
I did indeed.
Whoa,
Mr.
I'm
Chair.
so sorry.
What we're trying to do is make sure that all of our supervisors know that the CSAC is here to assist us, not just one person on the board, but at any time you can go some trainings. I will now pass this along to Graham so that he can continue. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Supervisor Long, who sits on my board, as well as our executive committee. So she's one of the leaders in our association. I'm thrilled to be here today. As the chair indicated, I'm Graham Knaus. I'm the executive director of the California State Association of Counties. I started my career actually as a contract lobbyist for Lynn Suter and Associates, which some of you folks probably recall. And did some work for her. For the last 20 years, everything I've done has been related to counties and pursuing county government and ensuring that you have the tools that you need in order to be successful at the local level. I'm going to talk a little bit about CSAC, what we do. Love to hear from you as well. But before I do that, I want to recognize this board for its leadership and recognize the devastation caused by the Thomas Fire that began in December of last year. Actually, when one of our employees, now retired, was going to come to this board to present you with the Challenge Award, the fire broke out the night before that. And our community, your communities here and communities all across this state have changed permanently as a result of wildfire. And it's a key priority for CSAC. These things don't happen and go away. They remain in our communities, and they create a charge for us in terms of stepping up and trying to ensure that our communities have the tools they need in order to be successful. And this board has done a truly remarkable job on that very front and being open and leading this community forward through the last 8 months or so related to that. In Sacramento, CSAC is your voice. So we have the honor to advocate on behalf of all 58 counties, both in Sacramento and also in DC. And our core mission is about ensuring that you have the resources, the flexibility, and the authority to do your job as a county supervisor. In addition to that, we have a communications component to our operations where we attempt to tell the county story, where we attempt to broadcast via social media, where we have 3 million hits a year in our social media related accounts, all about pursuing county government and services to the community. We also want to celebrate innovation through our challenge award process and to ensure that other counties can learn from the great work that's occurring here in Ventura and in other parts of the state. We have begun having regional meetings that are focused on specific policy issues. For example, in June, we were in Santa Barbara hosting a meeting on wildfire liability, how to ensure that we can learn from what's occurred both in Northern and Southern California, trying to ensure that there's an opportunity for dialogue and that we can learn and get closer to you and what you do here locally. CSAC also has a finance corporation which fuels public-private partnerships, and so whether it's the CalTrust or CSCDA, which is funds infrastructure development, public benefit infrastructure development in your communities, we attempt to find opportunities that are mutually beneficial both for you in terms of your tools locally and for the private sector. In addition to our core business, CSAC operates a foundation, the California Counties Foundation. In it, we have the CSAC Institute, which is in its 10th year. It's very similar to your service excellence program here, broader in scale. We have 5 different locations in the state. It is the premier leadership and policy development for local government officials in the country. And so we're honored to have that under our portfolio, as well as our Results First partnership with Pew, which Ventura County is participating in, which is about evidence-based criminal justice to ensure that you're using your dollars in the most effective way possible at the same time that you're maximizing the public safety in your communities. In terms of what we have been doing and what our priorities have been over the course of this past year, we've certainly been focused on wildfire, and we're right in the middle of all the discussions in the legislature around wildfire liability and how to ensure that there's not liability shifted to you and to fire victims at the same time that you're trying to rebuild your communities. I'm not sure there's any issue we've spent more time on in the last 12 months than wildfire liability and ensuring the tools are successful locally. And I'm thrilled to be able to report to this board that at the last night of session, there was a bill that was approved that includes $1 billion towards fire prevention. That's vegetation management, and it includes changes to forestry management practices that are long overdue, that will really prevent fires from occurring in the first place and ensure that the severity of them is not nearly what it's been over the course of the last couple of years. So that's a big effort. The work is not done. It never is. There's much more that we can continue to do to ensure that you have the tools you need locally to manage through that. Homelessness is also a huge issue in this state. It was our top budget priority this year. We negotiated a historic $700 million investment from the state on homelessness. That's the largest investment on homelessness by the state ever in California, and is critically important so that you and your cities in your county have the opportunity and some resources to make some additional progress, and that you don't have to go it alone. And so that's a significant effort. Mandate repayment, we talk a lot at CSAC and hear a lot from your leaders, both Supervisor Long and your CEO, Mike Powers, about mandates and ensuring that if you're going to be told to do something by the state or the federal government, that you have the resources to carry out that function. We were successful in getting nearly $300 million in prior mandates being reimbursed to counties. That's 100% county general fund revenue, and nearly $10 million came to Ventura County related to that. That doesn't come very often. That's precious gold locally so that you can pursue your priorities here in Ventura County. We also have been focused on other parts of the front-end portion of mandates in the Health and Human Services area to ensure that when your staff are carrying out responsibilities, that they have the resources to do so. And there was about $70 million in additional revenue that was included in this year's budget. Yes, Supervisor Bennett.
When's the $10 million? When did the $10 million come, or when is it coming?
I believe you have received it within the last few weeks. And that's the principal portion of it. There's an interest component of it that is currently being calculated. So you get paid interest going back to when you fronted the money. And those funds should go out by November of this fall. Yes, good question. In-home supportive services is also a significant policy issue, both for this county and for us at CSAC. We continue to push the state to ensure that the framework that's in place related to that does not shift undue burden to your county as you're trying to carry out service demands in your communities. I want to thank Mike Powers for being a critical voice on that within CSAC, within his colleagues of the other CAOs in the state. He's done a remarkable job at ensuring that we remain purely focused on how to ensure that there's the right balance in terms of program and revenues to fund those responsibilities. There's at the end of session, there's always something that comes seemingly out of nowhere. And this year was no exception. Although there had been work on bail reform following the Humphrey decision that deals with how bail would be structured, there had been discussion for nearly 2 years. There was no proposal until 3 days prior to the end of session, which is the statutory requirement. That is now law, and so there is bail reform in the state that will take effect in October of next year. That'll be a significant change locally. It's one that we want to work with you on to ensure that, to the degree that this county and its probation chooses to partner with the court system in terms of carrying out the new bail reform responsibilities, that there's sufficient revenue to fund that. It's a pretty substantial change, and one that will require a lot of conversation, both internally and also between local government and the state of California, the administration and the court system. And we'll be working through that. I should note that there's both effort and there's litigation to prevent that from occurring at all, and there's signatures being gathered at this very moment related to a referendum that could go on the ballot in 2020, and so we'll know more in November as to whether or not that will continue to move forward or be paused prior to that election. CSAC really attempts to serve as once we get through the legislative process, as a conduit, really a facilitator on implementation to support you and your efforts locally. And so it's really important for us to hear from you. We often hear from your CEO and from Supervisor Long in terms of what we should be thinking about and how to move forward in a way that best protects counties. That's exactly why we exist. And it's helpful. Just like visits to your county, it's helpful for us to get an on-the-ground perspective as to how what occurs in Sacramento or in DC actually has an impact at a local level. And the conversations that often occur in Sacramento do not often connect up with exactly how things play out locally, which was my stark reality check when I went from working in Sacramento to working in Placer County a number of years ago. And it's critically important for CSAC as your advocate to stay connected to that. And so we do that through our board, through our executive committee, and through being connected with the CEOs in the state. And so I want to thank this board for the opportunity to be here. Happy to entertain any questions or comments that you may have, and want to be a continued partner with you and your efforts.
Yeah, let me ask you, that last part you talked about there is something that's interesting. As you said, the bail thing came right at the last minute. And there's a lot of stuff that comes out of Sacramento and affects us uniquely. A lot of stuff that comes out of Washington. My former chief of staff was, chief staff with congressmen, and what they voted on in Congress never was really reality, what happened here in the counties. And I guess what I'm asking, does CSAC, there's probably CSACs like you in all the other states. Do they have things for their counties and stuff? Is part of my thought is this, is when things come from Sacramento, and there's a lot of ideas, legislature, this sounds really good. And there's really kind of nothing new under the sun. Somebody else has probably always thought about that someplace else, and we've done it. Sometimes California's a leader, maybe there's something new. But do you ever have the opportunity to really educate the county supervisors that you deal with, hey, here's what is coming down, and this is what's happened in other places, so that they have the opportunity, because a lot of these people, have connections with their local legislators, and try to do that. Because at the end of the day, there's really some good ideas that'll come out, and we've seen it work. A lot of stuff, let's don't rehash something that really wasn't very successful in other parts of the country. And I'm not sure how much of that is, I know you got so much on your plate, and I'm not sure that there's that education piece of these ideas that are coming, and you do a lot of research to see where it's been done other places. I'm not sure, is that something that you guys do now or not?
It is. I think there's a two-way street here in that I think we serve as a bridge.
Yeah.
We serve as a bridge in understanding what the politics are, what the policy priorities are, and what the legislative process is in Sacramento and in DC, and how to navigate through that to best protect counties. But on the other side of that bridge are the counties that are actually on the ground delivering the services. And so the more that we're connected with you locally, the better we're able to understand your perspective and what the implications may be of policies that are occurring at the state. One of the reasons why we've created regional meetings is to do exactly that. It provides a forum for us to hear from you. And so whether it's water policy or wildfire, or we have one in a couple of weeks on changes in the behavioral health system, whatever that might be, us hearing directly from you and learning from you makes us far more effective when we're in Sacramento and communicating with legislators and with the administration. We're also looking for opportunities to bring folks together. So we've hosted a number of events that include both our board and in our executive committee meeting and legislators who were former county supervisors, as both a reminder of where they came from and the importance of services provided by the county, and as an opportunity to continue that, to build that relationship and have that dialogue occur. We at times will call on you because of the relationships that you have at a local level. You are by far our greatest asset. You are local elected officials. You represent the same people that folks in Sacramento and in DC represent. And so using that relationship gives us the opportunity to make further progress on pursuing your priorities.
If I may, Chair Foy, just to echo that. So first of all, I appreciate Graham being here. He has 57 other counties he needs to work with as well.
So you go to Illinois where there's 100 and something counties and we have half the size of the state, right?
Yeah,
that's right.
So
they don't all have the ocean, though.
Yeah, that's right.
The world's sixth largest
this is
economy.
his favorite county.
Right, of course. But he's here, and that makes, and so to your point about what are the local impacts, and CSAC's always been a great partner for counties, but I think something Graham brings to the table more than I've seen is that awareness and appreciation for the local impact of these legislation. We see these bills, we get a nice paragraph write-up, okay, that looks nice. What does that actually mean on the ground? What's it going to cost? What are the staffing implications? What are the risks for counties? And he wants to hear it, and in addition to the meetings he's talked about, we have regular weekly or biweekly calls with county CEOs where he's sharing information, but also asking us and truly listening to the challenges that we're facing in terms of operational impacts of legislation. So I think it's really heading in a good direction. And complex issues. IHSS, that cost shift formula is unbelievably complex, and Graham was a leader in helping us understand that and making sure we were careful and also explaining it to the governor, quite frankly, because to make sure he and his staff understood what that meant to counties, because it was, when you have something complicated like that, it's risky. They could think, well, I don't really understand what this means. But he and his team made sure that they understood this is a huge impact. And in fact, they've gotten the governor, even though he's going to be transitioning out in a few months, the governor's right hand, Diane Cummings, to set up a work group to look at this IHSS formula, just to hit the ground running with data so that when the new governor comes in, he or she can be ready to help counties with this issue, because we can't wait because it's that urgent. But so more than anything, I just appreciate you being here and really listening and helping counties. Graham, thank you.
Thank you.
I thank you, Graham, for coming here and talking with you. I know you wanted to meet with each of the supervisors, but I think this was a great opportunity to really get to know what CSAC does, and we can, I urge each of our supervisors to contact Graham with any questions. We frequently get emails through myself and Sue Hughes in regards to questions for items that we push to our department heads. And I want to say thank you to all of our department heads who provide information. I think we're definitely a leader as the county. As I took over for Supervisor Kathy Long, who was very instrumental in CSAC and a part of the executive board and the board of directors. I've continued that, and I have Mike Powers here, that we go to our legislators and we meet with them and talk about our legislative platform and what's going on. And then we also talk with our CSAC, because what's important is the whole concept of a law and then how it actually gets delivered. There's a lot of gaps sometimes. And if we can be that voice and assist CSAC in doing that and bridging it so we can get the funding we need, it's great. And then also the power of California on a federal level, because I stand on the NACO as well. And it's very empowering to know that CSAC is right beside me through that voice when we talk to our congressmen and so forth, and are actually able to make a difference. Like it's really important, and I want to make sure people know that I don't talk a lot about the stuff. We just get things done. But I just wanted to take a minute to let people know what we're actually doing and how transparent we are to ensure the best for our community. So thank you.
Mr. Chair. Thank you, Graham. Thank you for the comprehensive report, and I really appreciate what you're talking about. All those items that you mentioned were really, are right in our backyard here, and again, thank you for the comprehensive report.
My pleasure. Thank you.
I'm just going to say thank you. Yes, and we talked about Graham mentioned bridge, and I appreciate Sue Hughes because she's the bridge to CSAC, to Graham, to our local legislators, to all of our departments head, and making all those, sharing all that information is a big challenge. So I appreciate Sue's bridge leadership there as well. And we're very pleased to announce, and Graham's timing is perfect, so hot off the presses, 2018 CSAC Challenge Awards. I just literally saw the email, a merit award for our Library Express hours, which is one of the unique things where they actually have hours when the library is closed and people with a card can go in there, and a merit award for the Raptor pilot study. So
Right.
thank you very much for those awards, and congratulations to those departments. So.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
We need real professionals in our corner. As complicated as all of this funding has become, healthcare and everything else, and I appreciate this opportunity to meet you and have confidence in the leadership at CSAC as a result. So thank you very much.
Great. Thank you all very much.
Thanks for coming down. Appreciate it.
You got it.
Enjoy the ocean if you can. It's a little foggy this morning. So, all right. So we have a receive and file. Thank you, Sue, for making that happen. You're back. You can't get enough fun, can you?
Just like
CSAC help you on this?
I'm sorry, sir?
Did you get CSAC's help on this?
No, sir.
Okay.
We're going to get their help later on this week. Jeff and I are on our way up to our policy conference. So we get a lot of their good help on a lot of things. Good morning, Chair Foy again, supervisors, CEO Powers. For the record, I'm Dave Fleisch with the Public Works Agency. So I have a presentation for you this morning on pedestrian facility improvement criteria. So similar to the presentation made to your board last year with respect to bike lane improvements, we're requesting your guidance for criteria that will be used to prioritize projects to construct bicycle or pedestrian facility improvements. Unlike the bike lanes, where we had an identified list of bike lane projects, and then we were working with that at the same time with the criteria with your board, we do not currently have a prioritized or comprehensive list of all the needed pedestrian improvements. We do have an assessment underway, and I will cover the process that we're on that a little bit further. Although sidewalks are a large part of the pedestrian improvements that we want to do, or pedestrian facilities that are needed, the pedestrian facilities are more than just sidewalks. There are many treatments that can add to the safety and access to and for and of pedestrians. Crosswalk enhancements, traffic signals, other warning devices, and traffic calming devices like bulb outs or extended curbs, which you've seen in some of our cities already. For all of these improvements, like our other projects, we have to consider drainage, any utilities that might be in the way, any right-of-way purchases we might have to do or have to deal with, as we just talked about in the previous item that I had. Another concern that we have for pedestrian criteria or for pedestrian facilities is if they are in any proximity to agricultural fields where there's spraying going, obviously that has impacts on the pedestrians, and we have to have some concern for that as we move forward. So we do have an assessment underway. We have a general idea, but we don't have a comprehensive inventory, so we're working on that. We've begun with staff to go out and make sure that we have an understanding of where we have places where we need pedestrian facilities that are not there. The majority of them occur in what are called urbanized areas. Those are areas essentially where you have commercial or residential uses. Of the 542 or so miles of road in the county, approximately 296 of those are in those urbanized areas. And those are split essentially about 17% each in districts 1 and 2, about 8% each in districts 3 and 5, and about 4% in district 4. In addition to a physical review by staff of those locations for where we have gaps and connectivity issues, we're also reviewing many of the area-specific plans in the general plan. Although the general plan update is coming, not all of those are being updated as part of that, so a lot of those will continue on and be updated at a later date. So we're reviewing those area-specific plans and any general plan guidance as well. We're also looking to get public feedback. Recently, we did a public outreach meeting on Ventura Avenue on a project that we were interested in putting sidewalks and bike lanes in that area, and actually got some very good feedback, and it had altered the approach that we were going to take to the project. In addition, we have a Safe Route to School study in progress for a number of the schools in the unincorporated county area. We expect that to be complete, and I will be bringing the results of that to your board in December. For the assessments, these are some examples of the roads, types of roads that we would assess. Clearly, these are not all of them, but these are some examples of roads where you see either commercial or pedestrian use or residential use, and that we would consider those. These are some examples of what we would not assess. These are typically rural roads with little or no pedestrian use. They may be candidates for bike lanes, as actually all three of these are, but typically you would not expect to see pedestrians just because there's no really purpose for a pedestrian to be on those roads. So, as I mentioned, what we're going to be developing, once we have that assessment complete, we'll develop a comprehensive pedestrian plan that will list all of the needs and then turn those essentially into a list of prioritized projects. Those will be incorporated into our Transportation Strategic Master Plan and brought to your board for approval. The other piece that's underway right now with the general plan update is there's a requirement for a complete streets plan by state law, and that will be incorporated into this general plan update. We're working with the RMA Planning Department on that plan, and we believe that this assessment will help inform that complete streets assessment as well. This list would also be used, like with the bike lane criteria, to help us understand your board's desires for applying for grants for specific projects. These are the criteria, and I will go through these specifically. When we brought the bike criteria to your board, it was suggested that you wanted to see all of them in one slide, so we put those up here. So you've got a picture of the entire list, and I will break these down through the 3 different categories. First of all, for safety and comfort, as you see, roadway speed, pedestrian collisions, pedestrian counts, and ADT. The collision information here, different from the bicycle ones, is really focused on any pedestrian collisions. Thankfully, we have very few of those, but if we were to have those, clearly we would want those areas to be raised up fairly quickly in terms of a project if there was a need for one as related to the collision. Also, likewise with the bike criteria, we don't really have a industry standard criteria for pedestrian counts, what constitutes a high count, a medium count, a low count. We do have the counts from the Safe Route to School studies that were done, and we're going to be using that to hopefully inform how we go forward with this. The needs assessment criteria considers the impact of the proposed projects within a specific area. Most of these are fairly easily understandable. The reason why schools are separated out as opposed to just a point of interest is there's Safe Route to School funding specifically for projects associated with schools. So we wanted to highlight any project that is in a school area because it would give it an opportunity to compete a little bit better for that funding. Note on the disadvantaged communities, there's a state definition or definitions of what that is, and that's what we would be using here in terms of identifying what those communities are.
Dave, on the disadvantaged communities, what does the 5 mean? What is that?
If it is a disadvantaged community, it gets 5 points for being a disadvantaged community, so it elevates the score.
In addition to?
Well, the whole score is 100 points total, and so that would be 5 of the 100 points. So if it's a disadvantaged community, it gets 5 more points than a community that is not disadvantaged.
Okay, so is it almost like an additional 5 points?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
So, and that's consistent with a number of other things that we have where for the social justice perspective, we want to be ensure that we're.
And I know you mentioned Frederick Road over in Santa Clara Road in Island Acres, which is really a disadvantaged community there.
Yes, I believe it is.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
And then finally, for partnership, this is working to make sure that we have support from the residents, the community, the schools, those things in that area. And if we have support, if they're neutral, if there's opposition. Constructability, much like the bike lanes, I'm not bringing you categories A, B, and C like the bike lanes, but it's a similar process. If it's easily constructible, it gets more points because it's more likelihood that that's a project that we can get through fairly quickly. And then finally, if there is any funding underway currently for a given project, it gets some points for that funding leverage.
Dave, can I? Quick question on the partnership. Is that similar to what we had over at Kenny Street, where the residents and the school and everybody participated? Is that what you're looking for there?
Yes, and part of what this is also intended to allow is if for some reason the community doesn't want what we're doing, that's recognized in the scoring system as well. Because I'm assuming there are some situations where they might not want a certain thing to go in a given area.
Could I make or I'll start with a question and then possibly a recommendation. There are times when projects like sidewalks could have a dual benefit, if not multiple benefits, and that seems like that would be something you may want to add points for. For example, if it will work to narrow a road where you have speeding, as you narrow roads, you would add sidewalks. Another one is if it would allow for the introduction of a bus stop that you couldn't otherwise have because you don't have a sidewalk. Or it will help with some flood control on the street. Or it is part of a signal crosswalk, that you have to have the sidewalk. So it seems like that would be another category that you might want to add if it has dual benefits. And I'll leave that for your comment. And then a second thing that when I think of sidewalks and what the county did way back probably 40 years, 50 years ago, they've cut down all the trees in Casa Conejo because they didn't want sidewalks to get cracks. And so you took a community that would have really, was benefiting from having trees for all the wonderful reasons why one has trees, the aesthetic benefits, the shading and the cooling of streets and habitat and all that. Do we have any of our like boilerplate that allow for, or not just allow for, but actually encourage the planting of trees when we put in sidewalks? So those are the two questions I have.
With respect to your first question, as I mentioned at the beginning, pedestrian improvements are more than just sidewalks. So a project that included several of the things that you were talking about would get a lot of points for all of those things it's doing. So we are trying to include all of those already. Whether it be to address a drainage issue, whether it be to include a crosswalk or a signal or something as part of it, a pedestrian project in many cases is going to include more than just the sidewalk.
Right. In some cases, if you're choosing and you say, well, this one actually is also going to allow us to have a bus stop, or this one will also allow us to, deal with a speeding problem because it will narrow the road the way that we're designing it, or this one will help with the flood control. It seems to me that I don't see it on the chart. I do see like connectivity, it's good it's near a school and those type of things, but that might be something that you may want to include, realizing that you've worked hard and got it to 100. This would make it 105 or something like that. But it does seem like one of those benefits that you would be looking for, as we would with any project, really. What can we get the biggest bang for our buck in terms of multi-benefits in an infrastructure project?
We can consider that. With respect to the trees, we don't discourage the planting of trees. We just don't plant them by board policy.
So you don't encourage the planting of trees?
We don't discourage.
You don't discourage. So is that like you're neutral?
Yes.
Okay.
We don't plant them by board policy. The vegetation in the right-of-way is the property owner's responsibility. So we don't, as a matter of a project, plant them. We don't discourage them. If somebody wants to plant a tree, we don't prevent them from doing that, but we're not out actively asking them to plant them. If we're going to install a sidewalk in a parkway, for example, the project that was just brought up here, I presume that there's some vegetation associated in that project. We would not be prevented from putting trees in there.
Do we have approved plates, or are they boilerplates, that actually incorporate trees in the Public Works sidewalk proposals, plans?
In the standard plates that your board approved,
Yes.
in our standard road plates, there is a parkway where a tree can be planted. So to that extent, yes, it's there.
Okay. And may some of these projects be parkways?
Yes, if the particular area we're in can accommodate that, and again, it would go back to how much right-of-way is needed. In each of the areas, it's going to be very specific, but our standard plate has preference toward those in urbanized areas.
Okay, 'cause I know that it is something part of our climate plan and our strategic plan, looking at seeing that we help to what they call the urban forest. So I'm glad to know that we have that availability. I don't know if we've used it anytime recently, but I would encourage that. And I guess we'll leave to the board to discuss whether we want to have a multi-benefit one. Do you have an opinion on that?
I think it's adequately covered in what's
Okay.
here because of the way the projects are done, but we can certainly consider adding something if the board desires us to do that. It would be acceptable to do.
Dave, I'm sorry. Go ahead. Next. I just wanted to share additional, looking at need assessments for connectivity. It talks about routes to public facilities, businesses, and so forth. I just want to share with you that I think that 45 is a good number because, for example, over in Nyland, we have Auto Road that runs from Santa Clara to Rose, and you have Costco's, you have Walmart, Marshall's, Olive Garden, and all those places where people from Nyland have to walk, and there's really no sidewalks. And you have kids and families walking back and forth. So that connectivity need assessment, I think, is a good number for what you have here, you know, that sort of 45 points. And I think in that case, you'd probably have to work with the other agencies too, right? Because Oxnard is right adjacent to that.
Yes, sir. One of the challenges we have in many of our urbanized areas is we connect to a city, and so that's a great example of where we just completed about a year and a half or so ago a project on Santa Clara.
Exactly.
And we worked with the city to extend the sidewalk on our project into the city to connect to. Otherwise, there would have been a gap of a couple of 100 feet.
Yeah.
But we approached them and said, "Would you please pay for this, and we'll do it as part of our project?" And they agreed.
That partnership is very important.
Yes.
Yeah.
So if I could ask my question, we have the environmental justice bill that has come out, SB 1000, and that regards to healthy communities. I see this as also healthy communities. There will be grant funding coming out with that, and what it hits within, you know, the routes, getting people moving, getting them to work safely, getting them to school safely. I see this needs assessment, but I just want to, in case you weren't aware of that one, to make sure that we do look at that. There is a toolkit online that talks about all the different resources you could, but it's really in conjunction with our healthcare. It's amazing how many things it touches.
Ducks. Those are ducks, yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But I just want to make sure that we're aware of that, but I thought this was very thought out. So I appreciate it. Thank you.
You know, this reminds me that our priority needs to be getting sidewalks in communities that need sidewalks. That's got to be our first priority. I know we have a lot of conversation about repairing sidewalks, but places that don't have sidewalks, it's just unfair for them to continue to wait and wait and wait, and us not to prioritize our funding to go that direction. When I saw this item and I saw this criteria coming, I just assumed I was going to find something that I could improve upon when I looked at it, but I can't. I think you've really done a great job with this. I appreciate the disadvantaged
Dave,
community.
you've done
on
it first.
that.
Yeah. I have to pick myself up off the floor. So.
I just kept going, I'm sure they didn't do this or they didn't do that, and it did, and you had things in there that I think were creative and appropriate in terms of doing that. So I appreciate this is always a sensitive issue for you guys, and I just appreciate how you've handled it. So thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate the thanks, but I want to give that back to your board, and that we took the guidance and the couple of times we came with the bike lane criteria and learned from that and what your board taught us and used that as the framework for building this. So we hope that we wouldn't have 2 or 3 times of coming to you.
Great recommendation.
I think I just sit up and take the compliment. Anyway, yeah, no, very good. I appreciate the comprehensiveness of this, and this is good. That's very good. Any more comments or questions from anybody? We have a motion and a second to receive and file, so thank you, sir.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate it, Dave.
You have me for the next one, so.
Okay.
Oh,
I can't guarantee the same compliment, but this is good. I'm sure it'll be great.
Good morning again, Chair Foy, Supervisor, CEO Powers. For the record, I'm Dave Fleisch with the Transportation Department of the Public Works Agency. This item before you is addressing an overnight parking zone on Santa Ana Road. In January of 1980, your board approved a resolution to establish no parking from 9 p.m. to 7 a.m. along about a mile stretch of the Santa Ana Road in the vicinity of Lake Casitas. That was modified in 2005 in one particular area for no overnight parking into a no parking any time in that one specific area. Earlier this year, Supervisor Bennett's office and Lake Casitas contacted us and asked if we would be willing to meet with them to consider extending that no parking zone. This proposed resolution extends that zone about 4,000 feet. So it gives you the entire zone is about 1.79 miles. And the point behind this, if you are familiar with that area, it's not a residential area. It's not an area where people would normally be parking. It's primarily to provide some support for control of the area around the lake for Lake Casitas. We met with the the sheriff, who is the police in the area, as well as the supervisor staff and the lake staff, and this is what their recommendation is. So we recommend that you approve the attached resolution.
Please vote on this. We're good.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Great job.
All right. So we are close to our time, and we have presentation highlights of the Service Excellence Program. Sir, good to see you.
Good morning, Chair Foy, Supervisors, CEO Powers. I'm Paul Stamper with the County Executive Office. I thank you for taking the time to recognize the Service Excellence Program on its 10-year anniversary. I'm going to give you a short overview of the program and accomplishments, and then give you a chance to hear from one of our own agencies how they deploy and utilize this within their own area. The Service Excellence Program has generated over $33 million in ongoing savings over those 10 years. It's a key tool for staff development and has a direct impact on the lives of the county's residents. Our objective is to foster a culture of service excellence, embracing continuous improvement principles. Culture starts at the top. Okay, what leaders say, and more importantly, what leaders do, communicates to the organization what's important and what our values are. So, for example, when your board had the vision to initiate this program, but then ongoing, bring staff back to do above and beyond presentations and talk about the accomplishments. When Mike Powers attends every new employee orientation and talks about the importance of participating in service excellence. Our agency directors here at the county are all involved in a quarterly meeting for ongoing monitoring of this program and making course adjustments. This picture here is of CEO Powers giving a kickoff at the Kaizen event. This was specifically related to the building permit process for homes that were lost during the Thomas Fire. So being upfront, this is what leadership looks like, all of those things I just described. One of the keys to our success is leveraging our most valuable resources, our employees. We arm them with knowledge and empower them to make things better. They can go out then to streamline operations, avoid duplication, eliminate waste, and through this training and practice, confidence is instilled. This process promotes our career development and career paths within the county and employee engagement. It's more challenging and interesting when you get to actually design the way the work is done, and this is what this program does. It also presents an opportunity for collaboration. The classes involve participants from all different county agencies. We also have some co-classes with Cal State University Channel Islands. It gives us a chance to bring different perspectives together and to share best practices. We also recognize and value the effort that goes forth. This is a picture from our Greenbelt and Project Leadership Academy graduation ceremony. We have one for every wave that goes through. We've graduated nearly 400 Greenbelts here at the county. I see many of them. Raise your hand if you're a Greenbelt in here. Yeah, they're everywhere. and this is our plan, right? To have knowledge and expertise out in the agencies, being able to act as mentors and advocates for this program and participation. Here's a few pictures of some Kaizen events. Our champions and leaders generally select projects to work on. Greenbelts do the facilitation, but our frontline staff, we consider them the subject matter experts. They're the ones closest to the work, closest to the customers, and we rely on them to help develop the solutions. The result of this is not just a better process or an improvement, but it's also every person in that room gets a chance to practice and learn the tools of improvement and take that back to their own workspace where they can apply it on a daily basis. In fact, most improvements at the county and any other lean organization are called just do it's, where it's people going about their daily job, recognizing opportunities to make things better. So this is one of the greatest venues, and it looks fun too, right? So over the course of those 10 years, we're nearing 5,000 employees across the county who have been trained. 1,100 improvement events and over $33 million in savings. This past year alone, this past fiscal year, there were 114 improvements representing $3.8 million in savings. So that's the highest both number of improvements and dollar value in the last 5 years. So the program is growing strong and in fact trending up. Improvements come from every county agency all across, impacting vital areas like healthcare, public safety, critical infrastructure. As a result, the customers in these areas can experience shorter wait times, higher quality services, more convenient access. We want customers to be online, not in line, if that's their choice. Additionally, Lean is about eliminating waste and allows us to reduce our operational costs and keep our fees low. Additionally, this program creates an internal capacity so that we're already structured and built to face challenges as they come, like the recession or the safety realignment, foster care reform, the Thomas Fire. All of these things represent changes and challenges to our environment, but we have the internal structure and capacity because at its heart, Lean is a problem-solving culture, and we have the tools to adapt to those changing things in our environment. Take a look at some of these quotes here, because the culture we've created and the improvements we've made has direct impact on individuals. On the left there, it says, "I've never met a more decent and beautiful group of people in my life for a customer of our animal services department." See, these are things that you can't pull out of a chart or a graph or a number, but it's a real impact on a person, an individual. And that comes from the culture that's created of constantly striving to put those customers up front and the reason that we're here. On the right, you'll see there a quote from a customer of our treasurer tax collector. "Wow, you all exceeded my expectations for excellence. You guys were great." So first, just take a minute and remember which agency that is, right? And yet, this is the impact we can have. Okay, in this particular case, there was a customer who had a question, needed some information, weren't sure where to get it, and they went online and they saw a button on our website that said Service Excellence.
Did they say that when they paid their taxes?
I'm not going to answer that question. But yeah, she clicked the button, sent an email. You could tell from the way it was composed that she was like, this is probably some big bureaucratic giant. I have no idea if anyone's going to read this or respond to it. Within a few hours, she had a personalized response and answered her question. She was thrilled that she didn't have to drive all the way into the county government center just to get the answer. So Ventura County is recognized as a center of excellence in this area. Graham was here this morning. We did receive a challenge award from CSAC for this program in 2016. And then other counties, they want what we have. I hear it every time I go up there annually because the CSAC Institute asks us to come and train, teach people about our Service Excellence program and lean government, which we do, and we're happy to. We also regularly consult with counties up and down the state, including our neighbors, Santa Barbara, Los Angeles, most recently Kern County, where we went, did a couple of days of training to help them kick off an improvement program for their county. On this 10th anniversary, I do want to recognize Matt Carroll and Elaine Crandall, who were instrumental in starting this program and nurturing it to where it has become today. Currently, Dr. Rachel Linares and myself support the county folks through the Service Excellence program. But make no mistake, the real work is happening on the ground in the agencies. And so each director is responsible for deploying this program within their agency, making sure there's resources and support for it to grow. And this is where the rubber meets the road. And so we have an opportunity today for David Sasek to come and give you a behind-the-scenes look at how this program is operated within our General Services Agency.
Before you go, real quick.
Sure.
You talk about what this has done and where it's done, and $30 million is unbelievable and all that kind of stuff. But you know what else it does? It gives the public more assurance in the government that they entrust their dollars to, that this is an effective, efficient place, and they're trying to be more effective, more efficient all the time. And they want to, and these people are professionals trying to do this. And I like what you did. This builds this culture of problem solving. That's what it is. It doesn't matter if it's problem solving for dollars, whatever the situations come up. But I think there's this whole piece of what you're building here and what you've done over the years has really been able to give the public, wow, we got something more special than the average. We can take away some of those, comments that we hear about government being ineffective, inefficient. Any big organization is slow, it's moving. But at the end of the time, this organization says we're going to fight that. We're going to fight it. We're going to be better than that. And we're already proving that. And I just commend everybody who's been involved. And thanks for taking this on.
Thank you.
I want to say one other thing, just to follow up with your comments, and that is that, when people go buy their clothing, when they buy their food, when they buy their cars, they have a choice whether they want to spend that money there or they don't. When people get their tax bill, they don't have a choice, right? We're taking the money from people, and so if you work for government, if you choose to work for government, you have to also choose to do exactly what Supervisor Foy said, and that is demonstrate that you're a great investment for people who are involuntarily having money extracted from them. And when the Board of Supervisors said we wanted some kind of continuous improvement program, and then the CEO's office and with the leadership of Matt Carroll, as you said, came up with Lean Six Sigma, there were a lot of people that rolled their eyes and went, here we go again. But to see over 4,000 people now have been trained, it has been a serious program, and I hope everybody eventually embraces this because everybody has a responsibility to do this. We're all dependent on each other to provide that proof to the public that it's okay that somebody's involuntarily taking your funds away from you. And we really, any one of us can blow it for all of us. This program is the kind of thing that counters those few times when one of us happens to blow it by demonstrating that there are professionals out there, and part of being a professional is to be committed to this kind of program, particularly if you work in county government. So thank you, and thank you everybody here in the room that's hustled to get yourselves trained up and moved on to the next project. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
That's good.
All right, good morning, Chair Foy, Board of Supervisors, Mr. Powers. For the record, I'm Dave Sasek, the Director of the General Services Agency, and I really want to thank you for your support of this program. I want to thank Paul Stamper for asking me to come up here and talk a little bit about what our agency does. The General Services Agency was one of the early adopters of this, and so we've been fully engaged with Lean Six Sigma from day one. And, for the last 2.5 years or so, I've been privileged to be the leader of this agency, and I really want to share a little bit about our governance, and then I'm going to turn it over to one of the superstars in county government, up and coming, to talk for a few minutes specifically about some of the projects that we've done. So, first of all, we rely heavily on the county structure. We rely on the county for the training, for the database, for tracking our projects. So a lot of what we do wouldn't be possible without the overlay of the county structure. Within our agency, we have a governance program where each deputy director on an annual basis lays out a plan for what their goals are with regards to Lean Six Sigma. This is a top-up, bottom-down kind of approach where we want to set the framework, but the real ideas come from the people that are out in the trenches doing the work. And so we really want to look at providing a program where we can hear our employees, take their input, and act upon it. I speak with every new employee, and I kind of want to give them the quick infusion of why Lean Six Sigma matters to the county and to GSA as an ISF program. It's really important for us to embrace process improvement, because typically when I'm up here talking to you all, I'm talking about my rates, and nobody likes it when those rates go up, and everything that we can do to control those rates contributes to our success as an agency. So those departments, they meet with their staff, they get those ideas, they start vetting them and evaluating them, and then they put together a plan for the year. And this is a sample on the right-hand side of what we do. And I have to give credit to Jeff Pratt, because I stole this from him. That's the way Public Works does it as well, but it works really well. And so we sit down, and then on a quarterly basis, my leadership council reviews these, and we look and see where we're going. Just because this is the plan, that doesn't prevent us if a just do it crops up or another more important Kaizen crops up, we can redirect our efforts. This is just no plan survives first contact with the enemy. So this is our plan for the year, and then if new ideas come in, they can be added, things can be moved around and reshuffled, but this is our starting point. And so just a little bit about what we've done. Since 2008, we've completed 165 Lean Six Sigma events, and almost $8 million of that $33 million accounting have been generated from GSA. Currently, we have 91 of our employees in this current year have participated in Lean Six Sigma events, and that's really, really important. One of the things that I really strove for when I came in here is getting that penetration, getting the working level people, getting the first line supervisors, getting those people that really see where the tough points are, to say, boy, if we can fix this, my job would be so much better, feeling empowered to do something about that, and then having action be taken. So having them involved in that is really, really important. In terms of training, everyone in our agency gets an introductory kind of training to Lean Six Sigma. We got 98 yellow belts and 31 green belts, and that's a pretty good number, and we use them. They're all engaged in these projects that we're doing as we work to try to get better. Really, that's all I have for you. The quote on the bottom, the biggest room in the world is the room for improvement. Brittany uses that, and she gave that to, she said, hey, you can use that in your part of the brief if you want. But it's really true, and that's what we try to get our staff to think about. There's always an opportunity. There's always room to get better. Brittany Stevens has been with us for a couple years, and she's a bright, shining star. She's working on her black belt for Lean Six Sigma on her own time, and I've encouraged you to do that, because we think the more knowledge, the more experience that we have in our agency in this arena, the better we'll be. So without any further ado, I'm going to go ahead and turn the podium over to Brittany, and she's going to give us a few specific examples of things that we've done over the last year or two. Over to you.
Thank you, Dave. Good morning, supervisors, CEO Powers, those listening in, and a special big thank you to all of you here in support today. Mr. Stamper, Paul, and Rachel both can attest when I finished my yellow belt training, I ran right up to him and said, when can I start green belt training? I really found a passion in process improvement and really the core values of Lean Six Sigma. How do you take a process and make it easier, more efficient, and actually create a better product or service for your customers? So when I was preparing to report out on my first Kaizen, not only did I find this quote, the biggest room in the room is the room for improvement, but also this one, and I feel it sums up Lean Six Sigma, because change can be hard at the beginning, it's messy in the middle, but it's gorgeous at the end. And anyone here who's been involved in any process improvement event, I think can agree, it may not always be easy, but it's definitely worth it. So I really want to thank you as the board for your support and your leadership for the CEO Service Excellence Program. It takes leadership to recognize that sometimes it is hard at the beginning, and there are some initial costs invested in time, but it takes that leadership to recognize what you saw, that gorgeous at the end for the whole county. So here at our 10th anniversary, you can see that not only is the county, but GSA is also thriving because those benefits, the total cost savings, the customer service increases, those benefits greatly outweigh any initial time away from your desk. So I could talk about Lean Six Sigma all day because it's something that I love and there's so much to share with you, but I only have a few minutes, so I want to focus on a couple special GSA stories. Lean Six Sigma breaks process improvements into events, like you heard, a Just Do It, an A3, a Kaizen, because some projects or scopes is a little bit larger in scale than others and can take more effort. These were 3 Kaizens that GSA completed, so they were intricate, they were detailed, and they were pretty involved. So I want to give you, I'm happy to share the condensed version of some of our successes. AIM. I wish I could have my manager, Amber Butler, and my whole AIM team up here with me because they're brilliant and it's been such a team effort. AIM was envisioned because the county processes over 100,000 invoices a fiscal year. That means accounts payable, or AP, is a core business function, and GSA processes nearly 20% of those alone. July 1st, 2015, the actual first day I started here at the county did an upgrade to the financial management system. It was a great strategic goal because it changed from paper to electronic. However, that meant all the paper invoices you see on my desk there had to be scanned. Once they were scanned, they were going to have to be named, those files managed electronically, and then uploaded and attached to the new system. So who was going to do that? There was going to be an additional labor required. GSA used the tools of Lean Six Sigma to do a value stream analysis on the entire process, and out of that came AIM. You can see those invoices, they had to be stamped, they had to be approved by operations managers, and then input in the system. AIM didn't just automate that current process. AIM actually transformed the process, giving us a platform for electronic routing and electronic approvals. You can see there the template with the green boxes. That's a template made for each vendor invoice that actually pulls key invoice information from the invoice and can actually auto-populate even in cost accounting strings. So AIM doesn't just give us an electronic image, like if you or I scanned it from our desk. It actually gives us data, and the results have been tremendous for our agency. One of our staff services managers, who's been here a little bit longer than me, 28 years, he stated, and I quote, "Processing the bills electronically through AIM has allowed us to avoid errors, pass the information quickly through its routing process, and creates an electronic record and file. This is truly one of the best improvements I've seen in my county career." So we have very positive feedback. AIM has reduced staffing to approximately 2.6 FTEs dedicated to AP processing, which is a labor savings of 2.1. It means approximately 7,700 invoices are being paid per equivalent FTE. AIM has reduced the total cycle time too, which is the date of the invoice all the way till the date the check is sent, by 20%. We're actually paying invoices now so quickly, we can take advantage of vendor discount terms, which has been a hard savings of over $43,000. AIM prides itself, though, on data-driven decisions. AIM provides that data for us. Reports can be generated at the click of a button that once were just not even possible. So AIM falls in line with the strategic philosophy of Lean Six Sigma because it creates a baseline measurement for us, and it creates greater insight and transparency. It also creates momentum towards continuous improvement. AIM has been evolving so much in just a few years. We've actually worked with the Auditor Controller's Office to create ADS, which is the Automated Document Submission, where we're using AIM data. We can upload up to 100 invoices at one time versus that one-on-one manual entry. You can see the time savings. Amazingly now, we also know where invoices are from the start when they come in all the way to when payments are processed. AIM has really achieved the best accounts payable practices for GSA. It's something we hope we can transform other counties' accounts payable processes too. Currently, portions of HCA, the Sheriff's Office, and just recently Public Health has joined and started a pilot program. For example, one customizable benefit of AIM for HCA is HIPAA compliance. 34 redaction templates have been created, so what formerly took someone 12 hours a week with a black Sharpie has now AIM can do automatically in 1.5 and provide Excel reports to the different medical centers. It's pretty incredible. What could you do with maybe 10 more hours in your week? We would all like that, right? Fiscal year end, as you know, for accounting staff can be quite a busy time. Some accountants even joke that they should bring sleeping bags in because they're in the office more than they're at home. AIM this year alone has reduced GSA staff overtime by 82.3%. We finished processing accounts payable by noon on the day of the deadline. So you can see we all love AIM, and it's something that we want to share with other agencies so when they utilize it, they can see the successes in their departments. Another story I want to tell you that I love, you saw a little picture before, is the GSA Procurement Master Agreement Renewal Kaizen. Kind of a mouthful, right? But it was my first Kaizen that I got to facilitate, so I love it. And I had a great partner to work with, Annette Polito from the Sheriff's Office. So who likes to have money to shop? We all do, right? But better yet, I should rephrase, who needs money to purchase items every day in their work capacities? Well, master agreements, or MAs, are actually the contracts between the county and the different vendors. They're the procurement vehicles by which every budget unit, every department across the county is able to purchase goods and services against. But what that means for procurement is a very time-consuming, cumbersome process because every year they have to renew each one of these documents. That's over 2,000 documents. So we met and we mapped out the current process using the tools I learned in my Greenbelt training. And you can see, we thought we just needed the gold paper. 89 steps later, we realized we needed a lot more paper. So lots of snacks and discussions later, I won't go into the details, we decided on new procedures for procurement master agreements. We all voted with lots of thumbs up. Working with the auditor's office, what it meant was a new start time. So a 6 to 9 month process turned into a 3 to 4 month process. 49 steps were removed and over 41,000 touch points were removed. That's all the times the documents went back and forth unnecessarily. We were even surprised by some of the results. It also totaled over $160,000 in savings, but moreover than the dollar savings were the actual outcomes that we saw. MA processing improved from approximately 2 hours to about 30 to 40 minutes each, which meant we were delivering more finalized MAs in half the time. That's delivering greater customer service to our customers, which are all the other agencies of the county. It really upholds GSA's motto of great service always. Fleet. Fleet is my GSA success story number 3. Fleet has been tremendously busy this year. I want to start with the Fleet's parts supply chain. It was a bottleneck for the parts operation department, inventory, and also accounting with over 500 invoices a month. Think of all the car parts needed to maintain all of the vehicles, over 2,000 in the county's fleet. The solution came after GSA went through a thorough search process and partnered with a strategic vendor, NAPA, also with this software integration package customized for us. Going with one vendor allowed Fleet to leverage economies of scale and to reduce our invoices to just a few a month. You can see the drastic time savings that was for the parts department, for accounting staff, and rolls up to also a drastic savings for the auditor controller's office. For instance, our stock inventory used to be managed by manual phone calls to over 130 different vendors. Now, that's an automated process through minimum and maximum levels, and those work orders get sent directly into the NAPA system. You can see, with all of those car parts, this was a very intricate implementation process. I just barely scratched the surface, but it has an ultimate annual projected savings of over $500,000. That's huge. Second with Fleet is the preventative maintenance scheduler. So all fleet vehicles need basic maintenance like oil changes and tire rotations. So most users would just come into the office, we'll say willy-nilly, but that actually created demand fluctuations where there was a lot of overtime incurred, but also underutilization of labor during those downtimes. Sometimes the best solution to an issue is really simple yet elegant. GSA instituted an online web-based scheduler where automatic emails are sent to different users when their maintenance is due. Within just the first few weeks of implementation, those overdue maintenances went from 300 to 94. It's a pretty big savings. And what it shows is that by GSA, by just adjusting a few processes to better serve its customers, we're able to better serve our customers. So, but moreover, what I wanted to say is that we've heard a lot of great feedback from this process because now our users can actually schedule their maintenance when it's most convenient for them. And because they have a scheduled time, their wait time in the office has been greatly reduced, getting them back to their offices faster. And like I said, finally, Fleet was busy this year, is telematics. It's a system installed in vehicles to assist in good driving habits. Of those vehicles installed, 43% was a reduction in idling time. GSA accountants diligently crunched the numbers, and that was a projected savings of $160,000 that was not going to be spent on fuel each year. That's a hard savings directly passed on to our customers. So the results coming in from these projects have been terrifically successful. The projects weren't completed overnight. They took a lot of hard work, that messy in the middle section. But those benefits rolling in, we're starting to see the glimpses of the gorgeous at the end. Those are just a few of the larger projects that GSA is undertaking. However, it's not always about the largest projects, but continuous improvement. GSA actually completed 27 projects last fiscal year. And I wanted to ask, for anyone that's been here in the different projects, could you please stand up? As you can see, the depth and penetration that Mr. Sasek was talking about, it's occurring in GSA. So some projects are small, some are medium, and some are large. But you can see that the total is quite impressive, over $1.1 million in savings. So I wanted to conclude with just a few spotlights because the lessons learned from each project are sometimes just as important as the projects themselves. As you can see, there were lots of thumbs up when we decided on the process, but when I walked in day 2 in the morning and saw our current state process map on the floor, I had a small panic attack, immediately texted my partner to get here immediately. I needed help. And so my lesson learned, always expect the unexpected. And blue tape is not strong enough for carpeted walls. Like I mentioned too, projects can come in all different shapes and sizes, so make sure you define the scope. You may not be able to improve everything all at once, but making a start is the most important part. And sometimes asking why or challenging the norm can be a little difficult. So we implemented the Vegas rule. I'm sure you've all heard of it, right? What happens in a GSA conference room stays in a GSA conference room. We had a lot of fun with our Kaizens. But to me, helping to teach others critical thinking skills to take back to their desks, but more so excite them to start taking on and tackling their own small projects, that's what can really create the culture of change in an agency. So the possibilities to improve are endless if you're always asking why, but it's really a win-win-win philosophy because efficient processes equal a happy staff, cost and time savings equal happy agency, and meeting, or should I say exceeding customer expectations, well, now that equals happy customers and exemplifies the best practices of the County of Ventura. So to close, again, I really want to thank you for your support of the CEO Service Excellence Program, and thank you for letting us share a little of GSA's successes. We're very proud of our Lean Six Sigma culture. Thank you so much.
Wow, Paul. Wow.
That's just an insight into one agency. 26 different agencies have their own version of that. So.
Yeah. But that's an exciting to see what is really going on and how people have really bought into it. And I know Dave and I had talked about some of the stuff going on, and you take the right leadership with the right program and the right passionate people, and it's amazing what it accomplishes. And that's exciting stuff.
Yeah, I just a very specific thing on your presentation. Number one, a great presentation, and obviously you're really well prepared for that, and I appreciate it. I really wish the newspaper would cover something like that because you were so specific about the saving and so specific about how it works. I just wanted to throw it out there. You guys probably are way ahead of me on this, but I was just talking the other day with the man who came up with the concept. You know, when you fly in the plane and they tell you that your life preserver is underneath the seat, well, there's FDA requirements that they have to check those things every so often because they expire and all of this other stuff. Well, he went in and barcoded all those, because you can imagine somebody has to go and look underneath. Now they know exactly when one has expired, and they just go in and scan the whole plane. And I'm just thinking of all those parts that you're dealing with and everything else, if there's some way that barcoding can get us to the point, it's another whole area of potential labor savings going down the road. So, but anyway, what a great program, and thank you very much.
Mr. Chair, I want to thank you. This is really the data here is really important. 4,700 people trained, and 1,134 improvements, and the big one is that's tremendous. Young lady, you did an excellent job. Really, really good. Thank you so much.
Mm-hmm. Good, Mike.
Well, I was just going to say, yeah, Brittany, too bad you don't have any passion for what you're doing. But just an amazing presentation, but it really does capture. What can you say? You get down to, there's big savings, and then there's the small savings, but they all matter. All the dollars matter. And what I also find interesting when I go to these graduations is most of these projects cut across many departments, right? And so you see just the interagency collaboration that is so important to your board. It's happening every day in these very specific ways. And you look at this one, GSA and the Auditor Controller's Office, HCA, HSA is involved, Sheriff's involved. The list goes on. Public Works is truly embedded into their culture and their strategic plan. It's just all over. And the other thing I would mention too is that when they're training, they're not sort of off. They're applying this training, the things to real projects that are meaningful. So you go to these graduations and you hear programs like this. So when they're training, they're actually working to improve the very processes that they're doing. So just thank you to all the workforce who's doing this. As you say, 5,000 yellow belts, almost 400 green belts. Okay. And these are probably the busiest people in the county who are doing it, right? When you want to get something done, ask a busy person. So thank you all for the extra time that you invest in this. And to Stamper and Rachel, just great job leading it, and for your board support and taking the time to recognize all the work that's done. Great job. Thank you. And we have put out a news release, by the way, on this program today. So thank you.
It is wonderful to hear about the specific benefits that we're achieving through this program. But I also want to thank you, Mike, because when you first brought this concept forward, I was thinking, okay, we're going to do this exercise and we'd be done. But just understanding this is continuous improvement and what a benefit it is to the whole county system. Yeah. So thank you for that.
It is. It's a way of life. And the other thing is she said at the end in her thing, which was really good, is when is the efficient process which pleases staff? There's no question. People who do the work daily, they hate inefficiency. It makes their life miserable. I mean, there's no question. And then the other side is soft, hardened savings. Every leader of every organization says, look, I want to be effective and efficient. I want to show that my team is good at saving money and do that. Everybody does in every kind of organization. And at the end, meeting the client expectations, which is please customers. And we do. I know sometimes we're saying, government, do we have customers? There's almost 1 million people in this county who are our customers, and we are customers ourselves. And so finding these ways, and sometimes most times when people come to government, there's no other place they go because that's why they're here. And we know that in planning and building and safety, all these kinds, every place they touch. So that customer service is so critical. And that's where they're going to come back and say, wow, some of those comments we saw up here, these people were way beyond. And so very good, excellent. I'm just excited to see this. And can I plagiarize some of this, my own business too? So this is great stuff. Thank you very much. I appreciate what you guys are doing.
Thank you very much.
I'm not sure I'll be here for next year's presentation, but I can imagine what it's going to look like. So that's good. We can all vote on this? That's great. And then we just have one more vote after that. We have correspondence. Oh, I've got people to vote. Did you already vote, Steve, or did you forget to vote? There you go.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everybody. If we can do some correspondence, that'd be great. And then, Leroy, we're going to closed session?
Yes. There should not be.
No announcements? Okay, great. And then we'll we'll adjourn from closed session?
And we have a financial planning committee.
We do. We have a financial planning committee. 2 more votes, Steve. You need a vote on the correspondence. They're just not going to let you get away. And then, okay, so we'll adjourn from